It's a decades-old mystery.
This is a view from the south side of the crime scene. Approximately where Officer Grubai is now is the approximate location of the body.
All leads had been exhausted.
Why can't I solve this case? Why can't I find out who killed this 15-year-old girl?
How could the killer just do this and disappear?
Karen Stitt was just 15 when she was brutally murdered on her way to a bus stop in Sunnyvale, California, in Silicon Valley.
Dumped at the base of a cinder block wall behind some bushes, her hands and her legs bound with her own clothes.
Raped, stabbed over 50 times, and left to bleed to death by a monster.
To cross paths with an evil predator on such a short window of time is like a lightning strike.
When someone is murdered, it's like a whole world has been destroyed.
It changed all of our lives forever.
For every family member and friend who never got answers, there are investigators still haunted by the case they never closed.
It was a case that hung over their heads for decades.
It was in their neighborhood, happened on their watch. They wanted it solved.
Decades after Karen Stitt's murder, one determined cop, Detective Matt Hutchison, takes her case on.
But I was reading a newspaper one day and I saw this article about this Sunnyvale cop who had posed as a busboy to gather DNA evidence to solve a cold case. And I thought, this is kind of cool. Sounds like a TV show or something.
Matt never gives up, and he will use every avenue available to him to solve the crime.
He's willing to kind of get down in the muck to do whatever it takes to find these people.
He will bust tables, and he will collect trash, and he will get his fortune told. Matt will do anything to identify these killers.
For every story, there's a villain and a hero, and I think Matt is the hero in this story.
You're gonna work these cases until they're solved, or it's gonna break you.
Matt Hutchison, who goes by Hutch, has made arrests in no less than 7 cold cases, leading some to use a different nickname for him, Badass Detective.
I was born and raised in the city of Sunnyvale. Grew up like any other kid, playing Little League and all the sports that I could.
I asked Matt what he was like as a kid, and he says, I guess you'd say I was willful. I was a willful kid.
I'm the youngest of 3 boys, so I had to keep up. I had to get a quick wit to defend myself quite a bit.
He went to high school probably 5 miles from where he does his police work. Then he went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which is a few hours down the road. So he's very much a local guy.
You didn't start off wanting to be a cop. What was your original plan?
I majored in history, and I thought that I was going to be a high school history teacher, maybe coach golf or football. And while I was in college, I realized I probably don't have the patience to be teaching high school kids. My stepfather worked for the city of Sunnyvale as a police officer for 30+ years.
Oh, wow.
And he kind of guided me down that path and said, you need to consider public safety, and I think it'd be a fit for you, and it was.
It's a unique program in all of the United States. Every officer there is a fully trained police officer, EMT, and firefighter.
Basically what that means is that everybody who signs up to be a cop also signs up to be a firefighter and an EMT.
A lot of people want to either be cops or firefighters. It definitely takes a special person that wants to do both sides of the house.
Which one do you like best? What's the difference?
I would say that when you're a firefighter, they wave to you with all 5 fingers instead of just their favorite middle one when you're on patrol.
So we worked on graveyard patrol together, 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., so true nighttime hours.
Corinne is a lot like me. We're like-minded. We're 1 and 2 trying to push each other. If she made an arrest, I needed to go out and make 2, and vice versa. My goal on Graveyard was to be as active as I possibly could. I wanted to get as much experience as quickly as I could because I knew that I wanted to get into investigations. I applied 3 times before I was selected.
Once he finally makes it to investigations, Hutch, now Detective Hutch, finally finds his calling with a little inspiration from an unexpected source.
I was looking around for something to keep me busy and keep my mind engaged, and one of my husband's friends was a captain at DPS, the Department of Public Safety.
They put her on a filing duty. And after a certain amount of time, maybe a few months, she went to one of the sergeants and said, basically, this is really boring. Can you give me something a little more interesting to do? He said, yeah, I got something might interest you.
The detective that took me to the cold case room, he asked me to come back to the bureau to organize the closet and the files.
Your original goal was to make it all more streamlined,
Yes.
organized,
Yes.
more manageable.
Yes. Initially, I was putting them together for the investigator, but I got so drawn in.
Were you prepared to see the violent nature in these files?
No, not at all.
Carol told me that she was just horrified. She told herself, these people can't get away with this, whoever did this.
I'm not going to solve it, and I know that, but I'm hoping that I can put the data together to give to a detective that can solve it, or at least make more headway or eliminate more people.
For the most part, they were not getting worked. And all of a sudden, here comes Matt. It's like he hadn't found his true mission, and then all of a sudden, he found it.
Cold cases are cold for a reason. What made you think that you could solve those?
They get under your skin, they bury into your heart, and you wanna solve them so badly that you can't just put them down. The very first day that I opened the cold case closet door, there were boxes stacked 6 feet high, filing cabinets with loose papers and things all over them.
It's such a dramatic scene. It was like the attic that you've not gone up into for 30 years. There was one folding chair, so he sat on a little folding chair with the files, and he would have a legal pad and on one knee, and he'd be taking notes.
So many of these boxes representing lives lost.
It was just him, total silence, back there with the files, back there with the ghosts.
When I became a detective and I told my stepfather I was interested in the cold cases, he said, you have to work Karen Stitt. She's a 15-year-old girl who was abducted, stripped nude, bound, and sexually assaulted, and left in an alleyway.
Blood stains are here and on the other side of the wall.
Every detective over the years, when they look at that case, that's the case you want to solve. If you're gonna work any of them, you want to solve that one.
Little does he know, it'll take him another 5 years and traveling 2,500 miles, teaming up with library ladies and a mom on a laptop, going undercover to visit a psychic to close in on the killer of Karen Stitt. It's a sunny September morning, and a truck driver is making a delivery to a local garden center. He sees something in the bushes. What did he discover?
Initially, he thought he was seeing a mannequin and didn't think twice about it.
It wasn't a mannequin.
No, it was a young girl. What we're approaching right now is the wall where she's eventually found. All this was completely different in 1982, so this is a driveway that goes down an alley, and this wall extends about 20 to 30 feet down this alley.
Her body was found right behind this wall?
Yeah, there used to be a large hedge and a bunch of bushes that lined the wall, and she was concealed between the bushes and the wall itself, laying on her side, looking out.
You used this alleyway when you were a kid?
Yeah, so I would get stuck at this red light here, and I would cut through the alley and find my way back out onto El Camino. I wasn't one for patience and waiting at red light, so I found a way around. My thoughts of this alley changed dramatically when I realized what happened here.
You have to work?
Yeah, finally. In this case, they did a scene walkthrough where they actually videotaped it.
About how far is this west of the body, Jim?
About 40 feet.
So I can see exactly what they saw.
Blue jeans, belt, more cosmetics,
There was blood on the wall behind her body, and then up above her, there was more blood on top of the wall.
Blood stains are here and on the other side of the wall.
The brutality of this crime was over the top. She was stabbed over 50 times in the chest and sexually assaulted. She was nude. She had her hands and her legs bound with her own clothes.
Leaves near the victim's feet were disturbed, which suggested she had been thrown there still alive.
And it's certainly the most graphic and violent scene that I've seen in my career.
The voice that we hear narrating the crime scene video, who is that?
That's Bruce Dudley. As the lead crime scene investigator, he was the one directing all the evidence items that were collected. He managed that entire crime scene. He actually told me that this case has given him nightmares for years because he wanted the case solved so badly.
Object here appears to be a makeup pencil, eyeliner.
Personal items of hers were strewn about where she was found.
A brown-colored compact.
They went through the crime scene and took painstaking care to preserve everything they thought might be usable someday down the road.
And that will be branch 5.
They were collecting branches from the bushes that she had been brushed up against. They were taking blood samples, soil samples. They collected every one of her personal items that they could find on scene. There was a wallet that was kind of underneath her body. Inside the wallet was her Social Security card that listed her name, Karen Stitt.
Karen Stitt was a high school girl that lived in Palo Alto, about 20 minutes north of Sunnyvale.
As investigators focus on the crime scene in the alleyway, their fellow officers monitor the perimeter to keep the public out.
One of those officers on the perimeter got approached by a young man asking questions about, hey, what's going on? What's with all the police activity? The officer eventually asked, well, who are you? What are you doing here? And he said, I'm David Woods, and I was here last night. I was dropping off my girlfriend in this area. Her name's Karen Stitt.
We had just moved out there this summer. It was a pretty amazing place to land at. Shortly after is when I met Karen. I was 16 and Karen was 15.
I was with Karen when she met David. We were at the mall, and I vaguely remember her meeting a boy with a baseball cap on, and from there, she continued seeing him.
I think I could call it a love at first sight. She just really swept me off my feet, and we were just instantly a couple at that point. It was just pure bliss, really. We'd go out wandering around. One place I remember, there was a Tower Records. You're flipping through records and albums. We're both into rock music. I had definitely a wide variety of tastes. I know she liked a lot of what I did too.
On the last night of her life, Karen takes the number 22 bus from Palo Alto to Sunnyvale for a date with David.
David met her at the bus stop.
He played video games at a 7-Eleven.
I got really good at this one called Defender.
They went to a miniature golf course.
And then we walked over to our new house and met with my parents and sister briefly. We went up to my room and I played some guitar for her. I was big into guitar then. And after a while, we went back out and just hung out at this little elementary school that was close to the house. We lost track of time a little bit and hustled off toward the bus stop.
He was worried that he was going to bust curfew.
I was kind of on thin ice about that, with my parents always coming in a little late.
He's got to get her back to the bus stop because he's got to get back home.
We got close enough to see the corner where the bus stop was at Wolf and El Camino. And, we kissed goodnight and she grabbed my ball cap, which was, a prize to her. She knew that was kind of a part of me, as I'd always have it. And it's like, okay, I'll get it back from you tomorrow.
The first sign that something is wrong comes when David gets an early morning call. Family and friends are looking for Karen. She never came home.
I got a call wondering if Karen was still at my place, that she didn't come back last night. And, I got dressed and went down, picked up the bus at the same spot.
David heads to Palo Alto to retrace her steps, but there's no sign of Karen. His worry growing, he makes the return trip home.
When I got off the bus, I started walking down the road and I see the crime scene taped off. Then I'm a little more concerned, so I approached one of the uniformed officers that was there asking what's going on, and at that point, they pretty much whisked me away.
He was the last person to see her alive.
And when cops search David at the police station, they find something that only heightens their suspicions.
When you're 6 hours into a homicide investigation, you have to follow that lead.
Then they discover that he lied to his mom on the morning after Karen's murder.
They're looking at him saying, well, he's not exactly credible.
It was right around this area that Karen Stitt, just 15 years old, says goodnight to her boyfriend. He turns and runs in that direction to make curfew. She heads in the opposite direction, around the corner, to catch her bus. But the bus comes and goes, and Karen never gets on.
Karen was bright and kind and beautiful. My brother was her father. Karen was the third child.
She was the baby of the family.
She was. She was born prematurely. She weighed less than 6 pounds and really wasn't expected to live. But she was strong, and she grew into a thriving baby and a happy child. So from the very beginning, she was a fighter. This one's dated 1972, and she's in her brownie outfit. So she would have been 5 there. And here, I remember this is their house in Pittsburgh, where she was raised, sitting on the couch in their living room. And then this final picture is her with her sister. This is Suzanne in the front, Karen in the middle, and a family friend, Susan.
Her mother and father divorced?
Yes, they divorced, and my brother first moved to Georgia and then took a job in California, living in Palo Alto.
And then at 14 years old, Karen's life is hit with tragedy when her mother, Kathy, takes her own life. What impact did that have on Karen?
I can only imagine what it's like to lose a parent in any circumstance at such a young age. But she was lucky she had the support of her family, and particularly her older sister, Suzanne, who just adored her.
After her mother's death, Karen moves to California to live with her father full-time.
She went out there and was immediately enrolled in school and seemed to be doing great.
She went to Palo Alto Senior High School, or Pally. She came in halfway through what would have been her freshman year.
We just clicked, started hanging out, swapped numbers, and just became really tight friends.
Karen was definitely a person that once you met her, she was just like no other girl that I had ever met before.
We were either always on the phone or together, out doing what 15-year-olds do, hanging at the mall, being girls. We weren't afraid to take walks to the store, ride the buses by ourselves. It was just easy living at that time.
As the summer ended, she was in love. Mm-hmm. She was about to start a new school year. Was this a new life for her?
I think it was. She was excited about the future and about the possibilities.
But Karen's sudden murder stuns her friends and family.
One of her shoes is up to the right, underneath the limb there.
It was just unthinkable that something like that could happen.
The leaves appear to be pushed back during the struggle.
He didn't want to believe it, like it couldn't be true.
Where the other 2 subjects are standing is about where the body was located.
And you see that there are monsters out there. It changed all of our lives forever.
As they search to identify the monster who killed Karen, police are locked in on the one person they know she was with the night before, David Woods.
And at that point, they pretty much whisked me away, took me down to their station for questioning.
What did officers find in his pocket?
When he came in for questioning, it's common to just do a cursory search of him to make sure he doesn't have any weapons. And when they did that, they found that he was in possession of a pocket knife.
Could be the murder weapon.
He was the last person with her, and now he's got a weapon on his person. They're certainly concerned that that could be the murder weapon.
David, what we need to know from you is the last time you saw Karen, where you were.
She came over to visit me last night.
About what time?
She came over about between 8 and 9.
The detectives are probing him for information as if he's a suspect. I don't know that he necessarily recognized that he was a suspect in that moment.
It still was not occurring to me that something this horrific could have happened.
What's she wearing?
She was wearing her blue jeans, blue and white striped shirt, black satin jacket.
She had it on at the time, or did you give it to her when you met her?
I gave it to her, but...
You gave it to her when you left where?
Okay. I walked her up to the bus stop. Then I walked home and left her with my hat.
Detectives are pressing David for details about his hat because that morning they found it next to Karen's body.
Can you describe your hat?
It's a blue hat with a patch on the front that says Rush. It's got 2 buttons, a Rolling Stones button and a Judas Priest button. Something happened to her?
That's what we're trying to find out. You walked her up to the bus stop and then left her there?
Mm-hmm.
Did you wait for the bus with her?
No, I had to go home. So I didn't like doing it.
The detectives pushed him quite a bit on why would you leave her out by herself.
Was she physically at the bus stop sitting on the bench when you left?
No.
Where was she?
She was walking toward it from the restaurant.
How come you didn't stay with her?
So I had to be home.
You know any objection? David to us looking in your own home and looking at the clothes that you were wearing last night?
If you need to know.
Well, it's important for us to know because Karen Stitt was murdered last night.
She was murdered last night?
Yes.
I found out that she had been killed at that point, and it just still seemed unreal to me. My world got swept out from under my feet, and then I had that horrible regret of not being there to protect her. And, just thinking about what she must have had to endure, it was just so painful.
David may be reeling from the shock of Karen's loss, but he and his parents take investigators back to his house and they give them his clothes from the night before.
None of his clothes had any biological evidence, no blood, the knife was clean.
But what's missing from the crime scene quickly takes investigators in a different direction.
There's not enough blood on the ground, on the wall, for that to be where she was stabbed.
Could Karen have been attacked and killed somewhere else and then left back at that alley?
There was a witness that came forward and described a very distinct vehicle. They described the coloring and described the sticker. Detectives told officers to be out in the neighborhood day and night trying to find this car. They're casting a very wide net because we just really don't have any idea who did this. Every time I look at the crime scene photos, as traumatic as they are, I want to study them and know them like the back of my own hand because I want to be able to explain every single item. The what, the how, the where, the when, the why. I want to know every answer I can.
In 1982, investigators are also studying the crime scene closely and have zeroed in on Karen's boyfriend.
I don't recall them having any suspicions other than possibly David, because he was the last one with her.
And that's not all. They discovered he had not told everyone the same story about the morning after Karen's murder.
Did you receive a phone call this morning?
Yeah.
What time? Who was it?
It was her sister's room. She said why she was looking for Karen. She was kind of digging her down.
But when he hung up the phone that morning, he had told his mom something different.
When David finishes that conversation, Mom asks him, who was that? And he tells his mom it was Karen.
Even though he explains he was just trying to avoid worrying her, it feeds their suspicions.
When the police are talking to all these different people and getting 4 different versions of the events, they're looking at him saying, well, he's not exactly credible. Why would he lie to his mom about who he just talked to?
Even as they're taking a hard look at David, cops are also re-examining the crime scene and details that seem to be pointing in an entirely different direction.
Where Karen was found, there's not enough blood on the ground, on the wall, for that to be where she was stabbed. There's just no way. I've always believed that whoever abducted her put her into some sort of a vehicle that was big enough that the crime was committed inside the vehicle. The investigators keyed in on that as well. At one point, there was a witness that came forward and described a very distinct vehicle. It was either a truck with a shell over it or a panel van type of vehicle. Detectives told officers, I need you to be out in the neighborhood day and night trying to find this specifically described car. And they actually found a vehicle that matched generally the description and found that guy and interviewed him as well.
But this tip goes nowhere, as does every other potential lead they chase. From a reportedly violent military veteran seen in the area that night, to a clerk at the 7-Eleven, where David Wood said he was playing an arcade game.
They just had blood on the wall, a boyfriend who made some statements that were inconsistent, and there's really nothing else to work.
Did the family suspect anyone?
I don't think there was anyone that the family truly suspected.
They kept saying, you know, it's only one phone call away. Whoever knows anything at all, just make the call. The longer it went, I knew the harder it was going to be to find somebody.
We didn't hear anything for quite a long time, like 5 years or something. And then somebody would reach out. And then you wouldn't hear anything again for a long time. So I thought it was just like a repeating cycle of they don't have anything, but they're just asking more questions.
But whenever a detective does reopen Karen's file, and many do, one name usually rises to the top.
Really, it's not the boyfriend? Are we sure it's not the boyfriend?
They felt like they knew what happened, and they had a hard time going beyond just looking at the boyfriend.
He was the main suspect initially, and he remained a suspect for years.
I'm sure whatever list of potential suspects was there, I was probably always on there. But, you know, I also knew that, you know, there's no evidence that I would have been able to do something so horrific.
In 2000, a new detective is looking at this case and realizes we can use DNA technology on the blood from our crime scene.
Where are we here?
We are at the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office Crime Laboratory, where we do DNA analysis.
In Karen Stitt's case, you processed some evidence in the year 2000. Why do it now?
The crime laboratory went online with the more modern, newer DNA typing. A 15-year-old girl was murdered in 1982. The victim had been tied up with her own jacket, and this jacket had blood smears and stains all over it.
If you're stabbing someone, the odds are that the blood is going to lubricate your hand and it's going to slip, and you're going to cut your own hand on that knife blade.
So I was looking for something that stood out. This is my note page from the case. I noted that the stains were all soaked or smeared. One little red dot was thick, shiny, and perfectly round, as if someone just dropped it and it dried. Because it stood out, I sampled it for DNA analysis, and it was an unknown male DNA profile.
That same profile matched the blood stain on the wall above her.
That was the point we thought, this is our killer. That's the person that did this. The first thing we did with that was to compare it to her boyfriend.
We do a one-to-one comparison between David Woods and the blood at the scene, and David Woods is eliminated as the source of that blood.
After nearly 20 years, with a cloud of suspicion hanging over him, David Woods is finally ruled out as Karen Stitt's killer.
It's the DNA that allowed us to rule him out as a suspect.
How does this unknown DNA profile change the investigation?
Now that's the person that you need to focus on. Figure out who that blood belongs to.
We didn't know who it was. It was a profile that was eligible to be uploaded into CODIS, the national database, and we did upload it, but there was no hit.
I got to a point where I felt like this probably will never get solved.
It almost became a subject that we didn't talk about in the family.
But 35 years after Karen's death, Hutch takes this case on with a new determination to solve it.
When I first started working it, there had been an article in a local newspaper where her father was quoted. And the sentiment was, I haven't heard from Sunnyvale in quite some time. I don't think they'll ever solve my daughter's case. I called him right away and I said, Mr. Stitt, I'm taking the case now. I will work it. And that conversation was short, and he basically told me, don't call me back until you do.
And as Hutch digs into the case, another unsolved murder in the same town just a few years earlier catches his attention.
A young security guard, 18 years old, stabbed to death inside of an office building.
She was a young girl still in high school.
There's parallels in these cases because they're both stabbed, and it's a complete, what we call a whodunit.
So what connection could there be between these two cases?
I learned to fly fish, and it became a godsend to me. Watching my fly go down the river and setting the hook is the only place where I can completely check out from the rest of the world. It recharges my batteries in a sense and gives me the ability to keep going. I wish that we were just catching fish and there wasn't a need to catch people, but this is my job.
Matt was always working on more than one case at a time because you would hit a dead end and he would just start working on another one.
Matt Hutchison is moving full speed ahead trying to solve the Karen Stitt case. But he's also competing with a backlog of current cases the department is trying to close. Sometimes all Hutch can do is wait and begin investigating other cold cases. And then there's the murder of Estela Mena. It was a mystery.
Absolute mystery. Estela came from a strong family. She didn't go out and socialize a lot. She did some martial arts, went to school, and worked.
Long before big tech became a big thing here in Silicon Valley, Western Electric was a leader in the communication business in Sunnyvale. Back in 1979, Estela Mena was a security guard working part-time there while still in high school.
She's 18 years old and she's still in school, but she's taking on such a serious job. I always just looked at it as a sign of her ambition and where she wanted to go in life.
On a Saturday afternoon in October, Estela was planning to attend a martial arts competition after work. She never made it.
It was a weekend where Western Electric didn't have all their employees going in and out of the business. There was less staff on scene. And one of the engineers who had been working upstairs, he's going to leave the business and he hears Estela in the corner struggling to live. He finds her on the ground, stabbed multiple times. She's not communicating with him about who stabbed her.
Attacked where she worked and murdered and tossed behind a vending machine.
The murder is in 1979. Hutch is on the case in 2018.
All right, what do we have here?
This is the overhead scene diagram from 1979 for the murder of Estela Mena. A common thing that crime scene investigators will do is an overhead view of the scene where a crime happened. They'll draw the vending machines, her desk in place, doors, certain things that don't move.
The other category Hutch focuses on are things that do move, items that seem out of place.
I look at things like the screwdriver in the middle of the room. How does that get there? Why is that there? Does it make any sense? Same with the comb, same with the shoe.
The photo of Estella's shoe also catches the eye of Carol Smith, that volunteer who's been helping out in the cold case unit.
The other detectives that I had worked with suggested that it was probably above her head because the first responders, to get to her, they'd thrown it back over her head.
Carol, you said looking at the scene, it was your impression that the victim was a fighter. Why did you say that?
Because it starts this way and goes all the way to the other side of the lobby. And you can see there's buttons and combs and everything that trail that way. There's blood that trails throughout the lobby. And so, yeah, she fought the whole way.
But the young martial arts student is no match for a killer with a knife.
She didn't have no kind of weapon on her. She didn't have nothing, and she was a security guard, and most security guards do. They have either mace to spray in their eyes or some kind of, if not a gun, I mean a stick or you know, something for her to protect herself with. And she didn't have nothing like that.
Decades later, the family receives an unexpected phone call from Detective Hutch.
I did reach out early on and I said, I'm working this case. I know that there's a family on the other end of that case that's still waiting, and that's painful for them. And if it's painful for them, it's something that I want to try and do everything I can to fix.
By the time Hutch comes on board, Western Electric has ceased operations. The original investigators have long since retired, and the killer has a 39-year head start.
I've always picked up a cold case knowing that it is my goal to solve it, but that might be difficult and I may not succeed, but I can leave it better than I found it.
In the early stages of the investigation, the biggest lead was the smallest piece of evidence, a speck of blood.
When the crime scene was processed, the Sunnyvale detectives found a drop of blood on the door frame, the same door that the killer would have gone through.
I knew if we're ever going to solve it, we need to be able to answer who's the source of that blood.
You can't prosecute that case unless you know who the blood on the door frame is.
On the day of the crime, Western Electric was in the process of moving to another facility.
So the building itself had a lot of people that were in and out of there that weren't necessarily associated to the business.
Over time, investigators interview them all. The end result? Nobody knew anything. Nobody saw anything.
Thank you. Much like Karen's case, Estella's case gets under your skin and it sticks with you, and they won't let you give up.
Matt Hutchison is about to get some assistance from a very unlikely source.
I explained to them who my victim is and what the case is, and they are on board. How can we help you? What do you need from us to help solve this murder of this young girl? I said, I need a trash truck.
One of the best ways to find a killer is to get a sample of their DNA. And the best way to do that is to grab their trash.
This is your guy.
Matt Hutchison.
I didn't do anything wrong.
In my line of work, it's very common for people to lie to us. I want to see if I can rattle his cage a little bit. Any reason for your blood to be found inside that lobby? Nobody should have to see the things that were done to those two girls. But I'm fine with it being me if it means I can solve them.
And solve them by any means necessary.
Because if he sees you out the window, your cover is blowing.
I rode the truck as if I was just any other employee. Any reason for your blood to be found inside that lobby where this happened?
Juggling two cold cases. But is it the same killer?
We just needed to find a name to match that DNA.
That's what we look for. You have someone who was killed or stabbed or shot.
You gotta look at everything.
And that person, they're bloody all over.
So we just took our pool of suspects from millions to there's 3 men in the world that it could be.
Crucial work, Karen.
A very crucial work.
And is one of them connected to this psychic?
You're not going to make me cry, right?
If you don't cry, it'll feel like I've done my job.
This is the one chance we're going to get at it, and we can't screw it up.
Bingo.
We're going now because I have to go take care of Karen. I have to go take care of Estella. Oh, man.
Detective Matt Hutchison is stuck in the past by choice.
I'm fortunate to work cold cases in Sunnyvale.
Working case files pulled from a closet few others dare to enter.
I went in there, I almost turned around and went out and said I give up.
Instead, he starts working multiple cases at the same time, including 2 eerily similar stabbings. Karen Stitt, a 15-year-old stabbed multiple times while on her way to the bus. Estella Mena, an 18-year-old security guard attacked on the job at Western Electric. Both murdered, but by whom?
There's constant disappointment.
Can the man they call Hutch break the cases before the cases break him?
Oh, man. In the Estella Mena case, there was an entry-exit door to that lobby that had a small smear of blood on it.
They had found 1 drop of blood, obviously not the victim's blood. It was somebody else's blood. It was found a few feet away. They decided this must be the person.
We put it through CODIS, got no matches.
CODIS is a database that contains DNA profiles of convicted felons and people arrested for felonies in certain states.
If you didn't get a match, if you didn't get a hit, basically the approach for law enforcement is, well, there's nothing else we can do.
But the game changes with the arrival of forensic genetic genealogy. Now that same genetic profile found on the doorframe can be compared not to criminal databases, but to millions of profiles submitted to public genealogy websites.
We got back some genetic matches that were close relatives that quickly kind of identified one gentleman who lived in Southern California who could be the source.
It's the best lead investigators have had since 1979, a subject with a connection to Western Electric.
I went into the case file with the name of the subject that lived in Southern California, and he jumps off the page. He was an employee at Western Electric. He did a brief interview in 1979, a couple days after the homicide. He essentially said, "Hey, I'm an employee of the mailroom. I don't know anything about the homicide." So we devised a plan to try to collect his trash that he's left out at the curb. A partner and I fly down to Southern California where he lives.
But the execution of that plan is more complicated. Police surveillance reveals the subject puts out his trash just moments before the garbage truck comes down the street. So taking it in the middle of the night is not an option. You want the element of surprise, because if he sees you out the window, right, your cover's blown.
Our cover's blown, evidence could be gone, he could be prepared for the interview and come up with a story that I can't refute. When I get face-to-face with him, I want it to be the first time he knows we're investigating him.
So you gotta be able to surprise him.
Have to.
You gotta get creative.
I do. We actually contacted the trash company in this case and got them to give us a truck so that we could drive on the truck and collect the entire can.
You asked the trash company for a truck. Their reaction?
You know, at first they were like, this is not the type of thing that we do. And then I introduce them to my victim and I tell them the story. I tell them who she is and why this is important, why this is the only way. And then they're 100% on board.
It has to be realistic, right?
It has to look like every other trash day that he's ever had. It was important that I look exactly like another trash employee. So I had the vest on, I rode the truck as if I was just any other employee because we didn't want to give the impression anything was changed. They roll out the old beast that's been on the line for probably 15 years, and it's got 3 inches of just sludge.
Sludge.
Just disgusting. And I tell them, guys, we're gonna put samples of DNA into this thing. It has to be pristine. We have to have a way to preserve this evidence. These trucks are designed so that when a can goes in, it smashes all the trash to make room for the next can. We disabled the compactor arm, and then we drove to a local hardware store and bought a big tarp and crawled up in there and rigged it up inside the truck so that when the can dumped in, we would catch just our trash and it wouldn't touch anything else and we'd be able to drive away with it.
So then you hit the streets. You head to this guy's house, and what happens there?
The first thing I see is another one of these trucks half a block ahead of us, and I'm in full panic thinking this guy's gonna take our can. We got on the horn with him and said, you need to just blow by the address. He listened, thankfully, and when he goes by, we pull up and we make a left into this gentleman's court, and I see his can, and I know the game's on.
The trash is successfully deposited into the truck. Hutch is booked on the next flight to get back to Sunnyvale, but he can't let the evidence out of his sight.
We found a lot of cigarette butts, bottles, cans, anything that somebody puts in their mouth can be a source of DNA. And then I try to get through TSA with a suitcase full of trash, thinking that they're gonna put me on some sort of watch list or something. We were able to get on the plane, fly it back, and then my task is immediately take it to the crime lab because we want it tested right now.
Match or no match?
It's a match. We know who the source of the blood is inside our crime scene now. The work is on now. We have to prove that he's the one that did it.
Hutch returns to Southern California, and this time it's to come face to face with his prime suspect.
Well, this is your guy.
Matt Hutchison, I'm really sorry to ruin your day, and that's the copy of the search warrant.
Jesus. Why do we have to have a search warrant? I didn't do anything wrong.
I come back to Southern California, where the employee of Western Electric lives.
I think everyone assumed quite reasonably that the blood on the door frame that the killer went through has to be our killer.
When we arrived at his house, we had the local police department with us. We'll do this wherever you're comfortable. Okay, I appreciate it.
You want a cup of coffee?
I'm okay, thank you. I want to see if I can rattle his cage a little bit and make him uncomfortable, and maybe he'll slip up. In my line of work, it's very common for people to lie to you. Did you ever suffer any kind of injuries or have any accidents when you worked at Western Electric?
Not that I remember.
Maybe he'll say something, or maybe he'll give me some indication that he actually is the perpetrator in this case. This is one of the doors leaving the business. There's a blood smear.
You see it right there.
Any reason for your blood to be found inside that lobby where this happened?
I don't think so. Why would you kill the security guard? There was no money there.
He couldn't have been calmer or more cooperative.
Have a safe trip back.
Appreciate it.
I wish I could be more help, but I just...
When I look at that, I believe that he's credible, but he might just be a good actor. He might be just saying all the right things. I know I need more evidence than just the blood on the door. Can I put him somewhere closer to the victim, maybe on the victim's body, on her clothing, on some item that I know she touched and interacted with?
We need to look at all of the evidence all over again.
And as soon as I knew we were going to test other items, I came back to Carol's voice in my head saying, Matt, you have to test a shoe. You have to test a shoe.
The two of you talked about that shoe.
Yes.
Incessantly, apparently.
Yes. You can ask Matt, but yeah, I bugged him.
She made it very clear to me that she wouldn't speak to me again if we didn't test that shoe. The bottom line is that shoe should have been on her foot, and it's not anymore. And that only happens because it falls off during the fight.
Although they've seen the crime scene photos numerous times, neither Hutch nor Carol have seen the actual evidence until now. This really humanizes it.
You see a height and a weight on a piece of paper, just somebody's statistics, and that resonates in your brain. You see that, and then you hold something that belonged to them, and you see just how tiny she was. You can see the different areas that they sampled here, where you see a circle with pen. You can see a slight faint stain in there. Blood doesn't always come up like a bright red stain that's going to jump off the page at you.
From that tiny wedge shoe comes the answer Hutch has been looking for. The blood on that shoe is not just Estella's. There's also someone else's blood that doesn't match that former employee they've been pursuing. So, whose blood is it?
It's not the same guy that's on the doorframe, which now throws a wrench into my case.
The unknown DNA is entered into CODIS, and this time, a hit.
There's a gentleman named Samuel Silva who lived in the state of Colorado, who was identified as the source of the blood that was on Estella's shoe and the DNA on her pants.
Sam Silva's killed before. He was a violent felon. He was arrested for rape. He was arrested for attempted murder. All of this in Colorado.
The main question now for the detective: was Samuel Silva ever in California? Hutch gets the answers by digging up Colorado probation reports, where officers once asked Silva if he ever lived outside of that state.
And when the probation officer asked him, well, where were you and what were you doing? He said, I was living in Sunnyvale, California with my two brothers in 1978, which would have put him in my city and possibly crossing paths with my victim.
Estella Mena was killed in 1979. The street in Sunnyvale where Silva lived was less than 2 miles from Western Electric. Matt Hutchison keeps digging. He finds a copy of a resume that belonged to Estella Mena. It turns out that before she worked at Western Electric, she worked here at Great America Amusement Park. And guess who else worked here?
Sam Silva also previously worked at Great America. We don't know if they knew each other for sure, but maybe that's where he got to know her.
And eventually, Carol, you hear the news that there's been a break in the case.
Matt called me immediately when he got the news, so this part always makes me teary because that was such a, I mean, that just gets to your heart. And all these years, yeah, to finally hear that we had gotten this one done, that was a big day.
But no matter how hard the detective keeps working the case, there'll be no arrest, no conviction. Samuel Silva had died years earlier.
I know I can never put handcuffs on him. I can never tell the family that we got him. You still have a job to do. When I go to the family and I say Samuel Silva is the person that did it, that's not all I'm going to tell them. I'm going to tell them why I believe that. It is my belief that she was the intended target of him coming to that business, and that she either said no to him, I'm not interested, or whatever it was that initiated an assault from him, and she fought for her life.
It was Estella's sister Marta, seen here in a news report from our station KGO in San Francisco, who would grow up and coin a phrase that would one day make headlines.
Marta, apparently is a fairly religious person, told me that Matt had flew up and met with her. And she said that when he left, she turned to her husband and said, that's one badass detective.
There can be no better moment for me as an investigator than to tell them, it's done. We know who he is. He didn't get away with this.
Hutch is not done. Karen Stitt's killer is still very much alive, and the detective is closing in.
I'm going to put handcuffs on the person that murdered Karen Stitt.
In the decades-long mystery of who killed 15-year-old Karen Stitt, Sunnyvale has an answer of sorts.
We knew who the killer was, except for his name. We had his DNA profile. We just needed to find a name to match that DNA.
So they decide to enlist a lab on the East Coast that specializes in forensic genetic genealogy to try to figure out who their suspect is.
When we send the DNA off for genealogy, we're taking that blood that we know belongs to a male, converting it to a genealogical sample to see if we can match to any of his relatives. We can then try to work backwards and figure out who he is.
Hutch has a lot of hope, but it's immediately crushed.
We get back 3 very distant relatives, all third cousins. The advice from the lab was move on to a different case. You're not going to solve this one.
We're talking about people that are so remote, there's basically no chance that we're going to be able to build a family tree to narrow it down to this particular perpetrator.
They said, Matt, do you know your third cousins? And I don't know any of them, so it made sense to me that this is going to be an uphill battle.
He was a little bummed, but I know Matt, and I've known Matt for a long time, that wasn't going to keep him down for too long.
It's easy to feel sorry for yourself as a cold case investigator and say, well, these cases are so dang hard. If I don't solve it, nobody's going to get mad at me. I'm just going to put it away. I quickly learned that I couldn't have that kind of attitude with Karen. I took her picture and I put it up on my desk right behind my phone. She's staring at me, telling me, don't give up on my case, you can solve it.
If 3 third cousins are as close as he can get, Hutch decides to start there.
So I went about the task of, let me build this tree as big as I possibly can get it.
From what he can see online, one of those third cousins has already built out an extensive family tree, potentially crucial investigative leads. But first, Hutch has to convince that cousin to help him.
He left me a message. And I remember laughing, and I told my husband, wow, pranking and, identity theft has reached a new level. A couple days later, I received a text message. He sent me a picture of his business card and his officer badge on a table.
He offers to fly to Texas and meet her in person. Still skeptical, she insists that their first contact has to be in a safe place.
We met at the small police department where she lived and then told her who Karen was, told her why we needed her help, and she said, that's enough for me. Come back to my house and I'll give you everything I've got.
It really struck me. He cared about Karen, he cared about her family, he cared about what happened to her.
And so we rolled the family trees out on her kitchen table.
All of the profiles of people who were living were basically blacked out. And he asked me if I would be willing to fill in all the blank spots.
How many names did you wind up writing down for him?
I want to say it was at least 100. Once I knew the specifics of the case, I went back into my family tree and started looking for people that I thought could potentially be a suspect.
We're building the data, but we have no idea where to go with it at that point. I'm just waiting for something or someone to come along and help me.
And that's exactly what happens one day after Hutch gives a talk on cold cases at the Sunnyvale Library.
I get approached by 3 women afterwards, and they say, well, we're daughters of the American Revolution. So that sounds really neat. What the heck does that mean? And they said, well, we've chased our DNA all the way back to the American Revolution. I said, wow, you guys seem like you're the experts. Have you ever thought about working for a police department?
They keep their day jobs, but agree to volunteer on Karen's case, working with Hutch to fill in the blanks across the suspect's family tree. One day, his phone rings.
There was one genealogist that kind of took the lead amongst the rest of them, and she called me and said, we have something. And she didn't talk like that in any of the other times I'd ever talked to her, so I start getting excited. I'm like, we have the guy? She goes, no, we don't have the guy, but there's this person. If you go out and you get their DNA, we'll know if we need to go after that person's cousins or if we need to go after that person's uncles. He's local. He's in San Jose, which is 10 minutes down the road.
After a simple local trash grab one night, the results confirm Karen Stitt's killer is one of this man's 3 uncles.
So we just took our pool of suspects from millions, and you're never going to solve it, according to the genealogy lab, to there's 3 men in the world that it could be. And I'm bouncing off the walls at this point. My partner, Corinne, and I figure out that one of the uncles is living in North Las Vegas, and we know his trash day. We're gonna collect his trash early in the morning and drive it all the way back the very next day.
I was pretty excited, a little nervous. I remember it being very, very quiet. And it sounded like the loudest thing, just trying to pull the garbage bag out of the trash can. Nobody came out, but it felt like, you know, this is the loudest thing going on in the block. So we grabbed the trash and we immediately take off. We drove straight through the night back up to Santa Clara County.
And then our crime lab comes back and says, oh yeah, this guy, no, he's not the killer, but you know what? One of his brothers is the killer.
We've now shrunk the pool of suspects down to 2.
Determining which of the 2 brothers murdered Karen Stitt will require Matt and Corinne to go undercover and visit a psychic.
She got a fake wedding ring, and I wore my real one, of course, and we got our palms read, but we can't give her too much where it looks like we're cops.
You gotta be careful.
For all I know, she's gonna catch me.
Investigators Matt Hutchison and Corinne Abernathy are steadily narrowing down their suspects in the 40-year-old murder of Karen Stitt.
Through just working the leads and not giving up and building these family trees out, we narrowed it down to a group of 4 brothers.
There was a lot of case discussion on which route we would take.
And then it becomes a process of elimination. One by one, you got to go out and get their DNA. And that leaves us with 2 brothers, basically on opposite ends of the country. One was in Maine, and one was on the island of Maui in Hawaii.
It came down to Gary Ramirez and another brother. Gary lived in Maui.
We ultimately ended up in Hawaii. We didn't know too much about the individual in Hawaii.
We knew that he lived in Maui, but we didn't know precisely where. We had a good idea, but there was no way to verify if he was actually living in that particular house.
Some of the last records on file of where he may possibly reside was this residence.
So we had to get a little bit creative and see if there was a way that we could confirm that he was even living there. I did just an open source search on Google of the address, and there's a pin on the address that says that there's a local psychic.
A psychic?
She's the landlord of the house, and she does palm readings out of the residence itself. It's not every day that while you're investigating somebody, you have a ticket into their life and a way to get into their life without them knowing that you're there. And so we went as a married couple, and my partner got a fake wedding ring, and I wore my real one, of course, and we sat on her lanai and got our palms read.
Tell me your name again. Corinne. Corinne. Your name is? Matt. Matt. Okay. So he's more sensitive.
Oh, that sounds all right. He is a very caring, compassionate man.
Yeah, absolutely. And he likes the truth.
I won't cry.
Oh, no.
You're not going to make me cry, right?
I try to make people cry. Oh, if you don't cry, I feel like I've done my job. Oh, no.
In the time that I've worked with him, we know each other very well, so it was very easy to play off him and vice versa. He play off of me. But Matt would definitely try to get a little bit of, information from her.
We created a backstory that we met at Fresno State. It's because our suspect who was living with her grew up in Fresno. We wanted to see if we drop a nugget, if she'll pick it up.
That's really smart.
I said I had a brother named Gary, to try to see if she would take the bait.
I've got 2 brothers, 2 older brothers, Gary and Jeff. They drive me crazy.
You got to be careful not to say too much and become too obvious.
It's a balancing act. And she might be a psychic. For all I know, she's going to catch me.
And it was a great opportunity for you.
If nothing else, we got a look at the layout of the residence so that when we go and eventually make contact there, we're not going in blind. I could hear rustling from a garage that sounded like there was people probably living in there, like it was a converted dwelling.
He was kind of lying low or just really under the radar, so that may have just been his normal pattern of life.
She never took any of the bait. She just took our money.
Forbidden by local laws from making a trash grab in Maui without a search warrant, Hutch and Corinne return to Sunnyvale and they devise a new plan. If they can test the DNA of the brothers' biological child, that could tell them if they found Karen's killer.
The gentleman who lived in Maui had a daughter that lived in California.
We had another mission to go down to San Diego.
So same as Vegas, we devised a plan. We're going to drive all the way down to Southern California, collect the trash, and drive it all the way back.
I remember walking down the street with a garbage bag and safety lights come on, just porch lights, and I felt like stadium lighting as I'm walking down the street with a trash bag. All I remember is I need to get back to the car and we gotta go.
We were able to go out and get a sample of her DNA as a means of testing against the sample of blood at the crime scene and essentially doing a paternity test. And we brought them back up here for testing.
The crime lab report said, this is the daughter of the killer. And that's when we knew. It was Gary Ramirez.
Bingo.
The next step was to hook him up in Maui.
We're going now. We have him now, we're going now.
So I'll let you hold on to that. The paperwork we have to notify you of here is a warrant for your arrest.
Once we knew that Gary was our guy, we filed a complaint charging him with murder.
We're gonna go and make an arrest in Hawaii.
Did you know he was going to be there?
We had a Maui detective call Gary and say, you might be the victim of identity theft. Can you call us back? And when we landed and tried to do a briefing with the local authorities, he called and said, I want to meet with you guys right now.
Bingo.
Everybody sitting around that briefing table looked at each other and said, we're going now. As we pulled up, I saw Gary Ramirez.
Yeah, how you doing, sir?
I recognized him from his photos.
Yeah, we just have to verify who we're talking to so we make sure we have the right investigation going. Do you have your ID? Do you have an ID?
No, I have a military ID.
Okay. Is that something that we can see? The paperwork we have to notify you of here is a warrant for your arrest. So I'm gonna hold on to this. We're gonna do this right away, right off the bat for you. I'm not gonna let you fall down or anything like that. Go ahead and turn that way and just keep your hands behind your back for you.
I knew 10 seconds from now, I'm gonna put handcuffs on the person that murdered Karen Stitt. And they're not just any handcuffs. I took my stepdad's handcuffs from when he was an officer in the city of Sunnyvale because I wanted some representative of Karen from 1982 to be part of that arrest.
It meant that much to you.
It meant that much to me, but I knew it meant that much to his generation of cops.
Oh no, what happened? What did I do?
It's something that's really old that we would be happy to talk to you about and share more information.
Oh no, what did I do?
So I'm gonna walk with you so we're not standing right by the house. Can you walk forward for me?
His reaction?
He tried to express surprise, but it didn't come off genuine to me at all.
We'll get into the car and then we'll explain it. We have a warrant for his arrest.
I don't know what I did.
For somebody to be accused of something so heinous, if they know they didn't do it, I would have expected much stronger denials. You have the wrong person. This is wrong.
Oh, shit.
This is the penal custom burger in California.
What did I do? What? No, something's wrong.
Hutch and Corinne drive Gary Ramirez to Maui's police department to be processed and questioned.
This is kind of the moment, especially for Matt, where you ultimately want to try to get as much information as you can and just get the truth.
Can I come in, Gary? Hi, Gary.
You said you were being a cop.
What's that? Thank you.
The way he conducts those interviews, he's so good at getting people to be comfortable. It's a work of art.
You're saying it's not you. I want as much explanation for how it's not you as possible so I can go find the guy that it is then.
Okay.
My goal in this is not to put the wrong guy in custody.
I was careful not to tell him Karen's name, not to tell him the city of Sunnyvale. I wanted him on the defense. I wanted him to not know what I knew.
And you said you used to work in sales, right?
Yes.
And you said car sales while you were in college?
Yeah, I was in college, yeah.
The violent nature of Karen's murder led me to believe that he could be responsible for other murders. I want to learn as much as I can about him.
So Denver, Colorado, Libya, where'd you do your basic training?
Lackland?
Where's Lackland? Texas?
Texas.
So you didn't even get to get stationed anywhere in California close to home or anything?
No. It's all right. I had fun.
We talked to him about the places he had lived, jobs that he had.
Jones Cleaners, I worked for them.
And Jones Cleaners was out of Fresno?
Yeah.
Vehicles that he drove.
I think I sold the Mustang, and then I got the van. I always wanted the van. I wanted to fix it up, you know, but I just never got around to it. I mean, you wouldn't want a van when you're young and you say, go hang out, party, stuff inside.
Yeah? Did you ever have parties inside? Like, I know people would put like black light in there.
I never had a girl in there.
But remember, Hutch always believed it was possible Karen had been murdered in a vehicle and then left in that alley.
We spent probably more than 2 hours with Gary before we ever talked about this case at all.
That's strange, right?
Very strange to me. And I actually confronted him about that.
It's curious to me that you're under arrest for murder and you don't have any questions about that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
You know what murder is, though, right?
Yeah.
Killing a person?
Yeah.
Have you ever killed a person, Gary?
No.
When I told him, you're not even asking me what agency I work for, his response was, I know what agency you're from.
You already told me. San Francisco.
I didn't tell you that. I don't work in the city of San Francisco.
Immediately, it's like a light bulb in my head thinking, what did you do in San Francisco that's causing you to believe that San Francisco police has shown up on your doorstep?
Where do you work?
I work in the city of Sunnyvale, Gary.
Where?
Sunnyvale.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
That's a 15-year-old girl, Gary.
That's all? Doesn't ring a bell? Is that the right word?
Okay. Is there any reason you can think of that I would have blood evidence and that blood belongs to you?
I don't know how that would happen. I don't know how that would happen.
Are you curious how she was killed?
That's horrible. How was she killed?
You stabbed her 60 times, Gary.
Oh my God, no, I didn't do anything like that. This is awful, you guys.
He invokes his right to an attorney.
You guys are accusing something I didn't do. I'd like to have a lawyer if it's okay with you guys.
And that means I'm done. I can't talk to him anymore. I've got to shut it down and walk out of the room.
You got it, Gary.
Even without a confession, Hutch is sure he has Karen's killer in custody, but he's waiting for one final confirmation.
The DNA all says he did it. But the ultimate answer for prosecution and for me as a detective...
Open your mouth. I'm going to swab one on each side.
...is when we put that swab inside of his cheek and have that tested directly against the blood. Now we're going 1-to-1. Is this the same person?
A Sunnyvale Department of Public Safety detective flew it back, brought the sample to the lab.
They worked this case 24 hours until they got the result.
By about 3 a.m., I had the DNA results. I compared it to the evidence from the blood stain from the jacket, and it was an exact match.
And I remember being in bed, but something told me, wake up and look at your computer. And I had an email from the crime lab, and it said, Gary Ramirez is the person that killed Karen Stitt. Just like I had her picture at my desk all these years, I had her picture on my computer, and I pulled it up and I said, Karen, we did it.
Hutch then calls Karen's loved ones, who have waited 40 years for the news he's finally able to deliver.
I was just overwashed with emotion. I'm amazed and grateful that this day it finally came.
Oh my God, 40 years later.
You had never heard of this man prior to this?
No, not at all. It was shocking to me when he told me how old he was. I was bitter, to be perfectly honest with you, that this man got to live a full life, and in return, we lost Karen.
When it's time to go to court, the man who loved Karen will finally face the man who killed her.
I wanted to be there whenever he was present. I wanted to make eye contact with him, straight-faced eye contact.
But I want him to say I'm guilty, and I want him to explain what he did.
The case against Gary Ramirez never went to trial. Instead, the elderly Ramirez pleaded no contest for the murder of Karen Stitt.
A maximum sentence for 78-year-old Gary Ramirez for first-degree murder.
He was never separately charged for Karen's sexual assault.
He entered court with a cane, long gray hair, and glasses, and sat silently looking forward or down as victims read their statements.
Just everything came back about what he did to her and how brutal he was to her and how he threw her away like trash. But I was able to get through it, told him what I thought about him, and I hope he heard every word.
She was stabbed nearly 60 times. He was just looking straight ahead, so there was no eye contact or no reaction from him when any of us spoke.
I would love to talk to Gary Ramirez. Tell me what happened that night, why he chose Karen, where he chose Karen, just to be honest and tell the truth instead of, copping out and pleading no contest.
40 years of freedom, lived through the prime of his life, probably acting like nothing happened, He may even still try to deny it in his own head.
There's a cost to solving cold cases, a psychological one.
They're gonna haunt me too. There's just no way around that. They get into your soul, and these cases will affect me for the rest of my life.
There's also an emotional toll paid. For Matt Hutchison, providing closure for other families sometimes comes at the expense of his own.
There's times I have to give my little boys a hug and a kiss goodbye and say, I'm gonna be gone for 3 or 4 days, and you're not gonna understand why. But what I always try to do is I would tell my sons, I need you to work the case with me. And they'd say, well, what does that mean, Dad? And it says, I'd say, you take care of Mom because I have to go take care of Karen. I have to go take care of Estella.
Hutch gets to know each of the families, and the Mena family has treated him with open arms.
They're almost like extended family now. They call me Sobrino,
wow.
which is really cool.
Sobrino means nephew.
After her case was solved, they held a memorial mass for her, and they invited me to be a part of it, and then afterwards they had a reception, and I got to just sit with her family and hear stories that don't make it into a police report.
Matt Hutchison will be the first to say he didn't solve these cases alone.
It was all of us. It's not just me. I was able to still test blood and clothing and different things and get DNA on them 40 plus years after the crime because the investigators collected them.
They had no idea about DNA technology then, but the evidence they collected is what ultimately led to both of these cases being solved.
I think it's really significant and impactful that both in the Karen Stitt case and in the Estella Mena case, key players and key personnel were volunteers.
You ever allow yourself to acknowledge that you were so much more than just a volunteer file clerk?
That's what I did, though.
Some people would call you a hero.
No. No. I was organizing files, helping Matt.
And you do it all over again.
Absolutely.
I'll do whatever I can to get more of these cases worked. If more of them get worked, more of them get solved. And I hope all the Gary Ramirez's of the world and the Samuel Silvas of the world are living in fear for the knock on the door that's coming.
A promise and a warning backed up by the numbers. Detective Hutch tells us that he's very close to making an arrest on an 8th cold case. Now, of course, we'll stay on that.
Absolutely, we will. And while he continues to investigate, Hutch has not connected Gary Ramirez to any additional crimes in California. We reached out to Ramirez for comment, David, but we did not hear back. That's our program for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir from all of us here at ABC News in 2020. Good night.
It was almost like Amanda talking from the grave. Is it a crime of passion? Is it a crime of revenge?
What's going on?
When you walk in this apartment, you see Amanda Plass lying there on the floor.
She's spread out on her back, and there's blood all around her.
There was no doubt that she was already dead. It wasn't even like she needs help. It was she's dead. My worst enemy, I wouldn't want to have to go through that. It's just horrible.
Not knowing how to even comprehend what had happened, but then still knowing that, okay, I need to put my child to rest.
Every single person in her life was a suspect. Everybody.
She said she had a lot of bad relationships in the past. Oh my God.
You know what? Mom ain't playing around no more. Somebody knew something.
Our story begins here in Chicopee, Massachusetts. A small city nestled alongside the Connecticut River. Chicopee is a suburb of Springfield, Mass. It's about 90 miles outside of Boston. Here on bustling Memorial Drive is this busy Friendly's restaurant. It's a place for ice cream celebrations and familiar faces. One of those familiar faces, 20-year-old Amanda Plass. More than a waitress, really. Those who knew her said she was the heart of this place.
Amanda really connected with the customers there.
She had a child that used to come in and only liked red gummy bears on his sundae, so she made his sundae with just the red gummy bears.
That's just how Amanda was. Everybody loved her.
We would come here and we would ask for her because she just brightened our day. She was just a sweetheart.
It was a warm evening in August, right around 5 o'clock, and Malene Holmes sat right here in this Friendly's, waiting for Amanda. Malene was a customer, and she and Amanda had become friends. They were supposed to meet right before Amanda's shift for dinner.
She used to come here and have dinner with us before she'd start her shift. We had been waiting for her, and then she didn't show. Everybody was concerned. They were trying to call her, and there was no response. Everybody was like, where is she? It was just very strange. It was very, very strange.
Even more strange was when minutes turned to hours, and the ever-reliable Amanda Plass never arrived for her shift at Friendly's. Not long after Amanda fails to show up for work, a frantic 911 call comes into the Chicopee Police Department. The caller is a 22-year-old named Seth Green. And Seth tells dispatchers that when he went to visit his girlfriend Amanda, he stepped into a scene of unimaginable horror.
She was laying on the kitchen floor right when I opened the door. Just in a pool of blood, stabbed to death. Called 911. I was still holding her when I called 911. I mean, there was no doubt that she was already dead. It wasn't even like she needs help. It was she's dead. I mean, she was throat was slit. You know, multiple stab wounds to the chest, right in the heart.
I was the on-call state police detective for that particular day. I got a call to say that there was a homicide occurred in Chicopee.
Ronald Gibbons, who at the time was a detective with the Massachusetts State Police, raced to the crime scene. What's the scene like? You arrive, what are you taking in?
This is the building itself. The Chicopee police officers had cordoned off this area, had put the yellow tape around it to block anyone from going to the back.
When the first detectives arrived at the scene, Lieutenant Gibbons says Seth was in distress and sitting on the back porch.
He was frantic, he was erratic, he was just a range of emotions.
What was that like for you, to see her on that floor?
It's just something that I would never wish upon anybody. Like, you know, my worst enemy, I wouldn't want to have to go through that. Honestly, it's just horrible.
When you walk in this apartment, you see Amanda Plass lying there on the floor. Describe the position she was in and what you're taking in as you see her.
She's like spread out on her back, and there's blood all around her.
Death by stabbing is very often a personal attack on behalf of the perpetrator. You have to be up on top of somebody when you plunge that knife into them.
It was almost like Amanda talking from the grave. Is it a crime of passion? Is it a crime of revenge? There's a lot of slashes here. This was very violent. It looked like she fought.
I knelt down right next to her. I wanted to, you know, imagine or think that she was, you know, breathing or something. And I tried to give her CPR, like blow into her mouth, and it literally blew out of her. She was pretty butchered up, and yeah, it's just horrible.
She's lying on the floor in a pool of blood with multiple wounds, partially dressed, and very dead.
It's around the same time that Amanda's sister, Amy Lee, receives an unexpected visit from her aunt.
And she told me, you know, your sister's dead. Your sister's been murdered. And I remember just crying instantly. I remember screaming. And my aunt is like, we need to find out who did this. We need to find out right now. And as we're en route to go tell her, my mom's calling me. And she's saying, Amy, what's going on? My mom's begging me to tell her on the phone what's wrong.
So I went outside, and there were the Chicopee detectives and the state, my daughter, my husband, to let me know that she had been stabbed to death.
So in real time, you're learning that your daughter was stabbed to death. How difficult is it to process all of this that's going on in that moment?
Oh my gosh, how am I going to bury this kid? Or what, you know, 19, 20-year-old has a life insurance policy. Where do you get the money? Just that whole process of not knowing how to even comprehend what had happened, but then still knowing that, okay, I need to put my child to rest.
It's something you can never be prepared for.
No, never in a million years.
You see your friend and they're happy, they're vibrant, they're excited for life, and then all of a sudden, they're gone. And it just didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense.
I had this heavy gut feeling that something something really bad was gonna happen to Amanda. I was like, oh my God, did I manifest this? Like, did I put that thought out there and it came true?
Nobody could understand why it happened because Amanda was just friends with everybody. I don't remember Amanda having any enemies.
Every single person in her life was a suspect. Everybody.
Any detective or criminologist is going to tell you that our money is on Seth Green, the most recent boyfriend.
My captain is now saying, head to the station. They got a possible suspect. He's down at the station. They're going to interview him. Need you there right now. It's a race against time.
I think my knife may have been in her house.
So you have a knife at her house? That knife was not found. Seth was the perfect suspect.
To truly understand Amanda Plass, all you needed to do was look into her eyes.
You can see her soul, the love that she had for everybody and anybody.
Her eyes changed colors. When she was really happy, her eyes would literally turn green.
What stands out to you when you think about her?
Her spirit, yeah, her energy.
Amanda grew up in Chicopee, once a bustling mill town, now a quiet working-class community known for the rambling Chicopee River.
Chicopee's a small place. Everybody knows everybody.
The neighborhood itself is a very close-knit neighborhood. The houses are pretty adjacent to each other. Very urban residential neighborhood.
How often does it happen that you have a random murder?
A lot of times you have a gang murder, and this was different because this is truly a victim in her own apartment, a young girl, 20 years old, brutally murdered.
Amanda was the middle child, raised by her mom, Michelle. She attended a local high school, but left before graduating and instead earned her GED.
She was a hippie child. I often find her barefooted outside, painting or taking pictures of the neighbor's dog, playing her guitar.
Growing up, we were like best friends. My mom used to dress us up like we were twins. My mom was a single mother for most of our childhood, and we moved around a lot.
I've always raised my children to be, independent, and you get what you earn.
I used to call Amanda the bigger sister. She had a job, an apartment. Her work ethic was nonstop. Amanda was always dancing around and painting and splashing colors everywhere.
Anything that had to do with being artsy, she would make feather earrings.
When you see a sunflower, you think of Amanda. It became her trademark. When she found the music festival scene, that really is where she started to blossom. She's in her early 20s, and she just found herself right before she passed.
A butterfly coming out of a cocoon. Just the brightness. That was her.
On that tragic Friday in Chicopee, Amanda's boyfriend Seth, whom she had only been dating for about a week, tells police he stopped by Amanda's apartment and immediately noticed a broken window.
I pounded on the door for a minute.
And then did you try going to her apartment door?
Yeah, turned the handle on the hot.
I went to her door and let myself in, and she was laid on the floor in a pool of blood.
She got up immediately and called.
You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that?
Seth had only been dating Amanda for the week.
But he said he had moved his things in, and it was a serious relationship.
I've been hanging out every single day for a week now. Grounds.
And the relationship was moving fast, right?
Yeah, I was moving fast. She had that go-getter attitude and just a fun, caring person.
What were you doing for a living at the time?
I'm a carpenter, but roofing is where the money's at. So roofing was my main go-to usually for the construction field.
Seth tells police he spent the night at Amanda's, left for work around 9 a.m., and returned to find her dead. He also tells investigators he was working on a roof that day and left the job site multiple times to purchase supplies.
What time did you leave to get the materials? I had left like 3 times. It was later in the day. 3 to 4? Like 3 to 4.
Seth says he and Amanda had kind of fallen into a routine. Every day after he finished working, Seth would drive Amanda to her job at Friendly's. However, the day she was murdered, Seth tells detectives that routine was broken because he had to work late.
He was there every day that week to take her to work, but this is the one day that he had to work late. That kind of was suspicious to us.
How important was Seth's timeline?
His timeline is very important. He leaves the job site several times, and he's on his own. So where exactly did he go, or what exactly did he do?
I texted her, I said, "Where are you?" She didn't answer.
My first thought was like, oh, she stayed home. Maybe she couldn't find a ride.
So you weren't like concerned or anything at that point?
No, not at all. I drove her straight to her house, expecting to see her there, waiting for me, you know.
Oh my God, you know. She deserves so much. You give it all to her.
These range of emotions does not add up. He's rising to the occasion of being a suspect.
The interrogators zone in immediately on the fact that Seth Green is a carpenter and a roofer. In other words, he uses sharp objects and utility knives all the time.
Then comes a chilling detail that ratchets up the suspicion on Seth. He tells detectives the knife he used at work, a sharp M-Tech blade, has gone missing.
But I think my knife might have been at her house.
So you have a knife at her house?
Yeah, I think it might be at her house. It might be in my car as well, I'm not sure.
He was missing his M-Tech knife that he didn't take to work that day. That knife was not found. Seth was the perfect suspect.
My girlfriend just got murdered and you're blaming me for it. Dude, are you kidding me?
And now police want to know if a telltale piece of evidence left behind at the crime scene will implicate or exonerate Seth Green. Michelle Penna will never forget the final text message she received from her daughter Amanda.
She sent me a text and said, "Mom, can you give me a ride to work?" And I said, "I can't." And she said, okay, she'd find a ride.
No one could have imagined that just hours later, 20-year-old Amanda Plass would be gone forever.
Homicides happen all the time, but when it happens to you, I would have never thought that my sister was going to be murdered.
What you stumbled upon when you went to Amanda's house, how does that compare to a lot of other homicides you've covered?
In this particular case, there's droplets of blood all around the room, and that's indicative that this was a very, very brutal and harsh fight.
Well, when we were finally able to get into her apartment, they had covered the floor with paper, so we didn't have to see all the blood. So when you're trying to clean out her apartment, as I'm walking across paper to cover my daughter's splattered blood, and then who do you ask to help?
My theory is that the attacker came through the back door. When we found Amanda, she's actually in her work pants, her work clothes. There was no evidence of a sexual assault.
She was found on the kitchen floor, and they do believe she was killed there. So not in a bedroom, not in the living room, and that suggests perhaps an element of surprise.
She just didn't lay down and die. She actually fought back. And when she fought back, underneath her fingernails was possibly DNA, and we're gonna have to match this DNA to someone.
The first person investigators test? Amanda's boyfriend, Seth Green.
I'm gonna do a couple tests. We're just gonna swipe the inside of your cheek, okay?
The interesting thing, we stepped out of the room, but we still observed him. And he'd cry a little bit and then just wonder why he was there.
I can't believe that. So happy with her. What happened, Gravely?
He had only been dating her for a week, and he was so caught up that this is the best thing that ever happened to his life.
But detectives also receive information that points to someone other than Seth. Amanda had recently told her family that someone had been sneaking into her apartment.
She said, my apartment got broken into again. And I said, well, what did they take? You need to call the police. And she says, no, Mom, all they took was a glass bowl, like a marijuana bowl. I said, well, you still need to call the police. And she said, no, what am I gonna do, tell them my pot got stolen?
Amanda's friends say she suspected an unidentified male was watching her.
She saw him peeking in her back window of her apartment. The window is actually broken, and we surmise that the person possibly had tried to make it look like a break-in. So on that same window, you end up with a palm print. If we can identify the palm print, we can also identify the person that would have been there that particular day.
But among the most important piece of evidence found at the crime scene, a bloody sneaker print.
That footprint showed a sneaker print in blood. You can actually see the Nike impression in that footprint. We had it measured, we had it analyzed. That was very important because it was a smaller shoe, maybe a female, maybe a male. We were looking for a Nike size 7.5 Air Max shoe.
I remember a couple days after she was murdered, everybody had went to her apartment in Chicopee Center and just held a memorial.
The whole front of her building was just a sea of sunflowers.
That was a really intense, emotional time to be in front of the apartment of where she was murdered and just comforting each other, just shocked, not understanding how or why.
And then, a few days after Amanda's murder, there was a funeral.
I just remember it just being beautiful and intense and very heartbreaking. And a lot of sunflowers.
Meanwhile, police aren't giving up on the idea of Amanda's boyfriend Seth as a suspect. Within hours of Amanda's murder, they even go as far as to ask him for the shoes on his feet.
Would you give us permission to look at your shoes?
Yeah, you can take them. I mean, take them off now.
Let's put up.
Finally, after almost 15 grueling hours, investigators reach a conclusion. Seth Green is not their killer.
His DNA did not match. His shoe print didn't match. His boots were a size 12. It was too large to be the person at the scene.
Clearly, there's some other shoes there that were not mine, and that's the thing that got me released, honestly.
What did that moment feel like for you?
Well, it's definitely a big relief, honestly. Yeah, when they were walking me out was definitely in a moment, finally, like I told you guys a million times, it wasn't me.
What is that like, to go through that, to experience the loss, and then to have to face that questioning?
I mean, it's unbearable, honestly. It's like, I just called you guys, why are you, trying to blame me for this? I love this girl.
Seth is officially cleared as a suspect and tells cops there's someone else they should be looking at.
She said she had a lot of bad relationships in the past.
Detectives also want to learn about an ex-boyfriend who was allegedly upset after seeing a public display of affection between Seth and Amanda at Friendly's.
While she was working, he had showed up at work and they started making out.
And detectives say that ex's reaction wasn't very friendly at all. So at the very least, you had to consider that he could have had something to do with this.
Very much so. A motive of revenge is on our mind.
What surprised you most about the conversations police were having with you?
It was hard for me to hear them kind of making me feel like they're, asking me questions like as if I were the one that did it. Not something I'd ever want anyone to have to go through. It's just horrible.
Any problems last night at all?
So happy. It's sentiment to her. She said she had a lot of bad relationships in the past.
Amanda's boyfriend, Seth Green, is fully cleared. But now investigators wonder if one of those previous relationships could be a factor in Amanda's murder. They discover that before Seth, Amanda had been seeing a man named Jesse.
He was a boyfriend of Amanda, basically a week before Seth was. And he also worked at Friendly's.
So at the very least, you had to consider that he could have had something to do with this.
Very much so. Jesse wanted a serious relationship, Amanda didn't. And she finds a new boyfriend.
Police learn of an alleged incident at Friendly's involving Jesse and Amanda's new boyfriend, Seth, that raises alarm bells for authorities.
Friday was a murder. Thursday night, when Jesse's working, Seth shows up at the Friendly's.
Amanda's boss at Friendly's tells police Seth came in and kissed Amanda openly. Jesse saw it, and he looked uncomfortable afterwards. Jesse asked to go home a little later.
Jesse moves up the chain as a very likely suspect. A motive of revenge is on our mind about Jesse.
I want to play some of your interrogation from speaking to Jesse.
So you both worked at Friendly's on that Thursday, right?
Correct.
You left work early, right?
Correct.
You told us you left because they overscheduled you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not what we heard. We heard that Seth went in there, gave her a kiss that made you uncomfortable.
Seth was in there for like a while.
And he did kiss Amanda in front of you and made you
Not that I'd
uncomfortable.
seen them talking. It didn't bother me. I was talking to Seth, but I never physically seen them kiss. Not once.
You knew that Amanda was dating Seth.
Yeah.
How'd that make you feel?
Sucked, but what are you gonna do?
After he left work, Jesse says he texted Amanda about some items they wanted back from each other now that their relationship was over. But investigators press him about the nature of those messages.
Was there any anger in the text?
Not in that text. I don't believe so.
But there was some anger in some other texts, weren't there?
Yeah. I was just angry at the fact that she just didn't talk to me for a few days, and I was just wondering what was going on. I was just pissed that she wouldn't tell me.
And this is the time that she's now with Seth?
I don't know if I knew about it yet, but she's probably talking to him then.
At this point, you're trying to figure out who might have been involved. How does this information fit into your investigation?
We're looking at the fact of who could have done this, who was angry at her. Because as we look at the scene, there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of anger going on. It's not a one and done out the door.
Can we also look at your phone? What'd you do with those text messages that you texted her?
Did you delete them all?
My texts are deleted.
Because you felt they were uncomfortable, or?
First of all, I didn't want to look at any conversation of me and her, just because it made me sad to even think about her.
Why is that?
Because she's murdered.
So you deleted them after you found out she was killed?
I didn't even want to have to look at them. Everything reminds me of her.
As an investigator, what do you make of that?
He's trying to hide something. So now there's obviously texts that he doesn't want investigators to see. Did he delete them because she's dead, or is he part of something that happened to her?
Deleting text messages certainly seems out of the ordinary.
Yes, it does.
Now investigators want to know if Jesse was doing anything out of the ordinary the day of Amanda's murder.
Did you stay home all day?
Most of the day. The only time I really left was to go to Friendly's.
What'd you go there for?
For my check. So.
Did you cash it?
No. Oh, actually, yeah, I did cash it at General's.
How did you get there?
I got a ride.
From who?
Kyle.
He says he goes to General's. We check a tape to verify his story. We learned that Kyle did not drive him there. So Jesse had lied. Jesse, we interviewed you twice already.
Yep.
And were you telling us the truth?
Everything except for about me taking my car to General.
Why weren't you telling the truth about that?
Because I told you guys that I didn't drive my car, and then when we got in the story, I remembered I took my car to General. I just didn't want to go back on my word. I was scared. I don't know. Believe me, I regretted it the second I did it.
You were scared?
What were you scared about?
Just nervous. I've never been interrogated before or anything like that. Never had to deal with anything like this.
Basically, his story is he didn't want to tell his parents he wasn't supposed to be driving. So he's more afraid of his parents than he was of the police. Jesse has lied about who he is with from Friendly's. Quite possibly, if he's in the car by himself, he could have went by Amanda's and then went to General's.
With questions lingering over Jesse's account, investigators decide to compare his shoes to the bloody shoe prints left at the crime scene.
No, look at those Vans.
Yeah. I have like 2 pairs of these.
Yeah, that's it.
You want to look at the bottom?
Yeah, the other side.
Ultimately, Jesse's shoes are not a match, and his alibi checks out.
We talked to the people at General's. He's not bloody. He's cashing his check.
Those close to Jesse never thought for a second that he was capable of such a heinous crime. Tell me about Jesse.
Jesse's a great kid. When his name was brought up, that was a absolutely not moment. I've never seen Jesse angry.
Sweetest kid.
And I know that was really intense for Jesse.
Yeah.
I know that was, to be put in that spotlight and to have the whispers, I think that was really hard for him.
With Jesse now fully cleared by authorities, investigators follow another lead. A mysterious vehicle that a witness says she saw speeding away from Amanda's apartment right around the time of the murder.
So to us, it's like, wow, that's big. We're on the lookout for a white sedan.
And a 911 call comes in that might just turn the entire case on its head.
Plymouth Police Quarterline Dispatch, Daddy speaking.
I'd like to call and turn myself in.
I have to know what you're turning yourself in for.
A murder.
Jesse, there's a couple of things that are bothering me here on your statements.
Amanda's ex-boyfriend Jesse raised eyebrows when detectives say he was less than forthcoming with information.
Now, you said you still don't know how she died.
I don't.
You don't? I find that very hard to believe that you have no idea how she died when everybody's talking about it. It's been on the news.
But after determining Jesse had a solid alibi, he was cleared, and investigators with the Chicopee Police and the state police quickly move on. Still unclear who exactly they're searching for.
One of the best clues that investigators find is a shoe print, a sneaker that is a size 7.5 men's shoe, which is very small for men. It's the smallest size you can get in men's shoes. Or it could be a woman's size 9.
Investigators get a new lead from a neighbor of Amanda, a witness who told police she saw a suspicious car the day of the murder outside Amanda's apartment. And so afterwards, as you're learning more about the scene, you learn about this white sedan that's here that peels away at one point.
Right.
Not a common thing to do.
Not a common thing to do. And we actually got that information from the neighbor next door. They remember a white car here, and they just remember a female, single female in the car pulling away at a high rate of speed around the 4:30 hour. And then we identify who that white car was, ended up being a girl from East Hampton named Mercedes Benz.
That's right, her name is Mercedes Benz. Another friend of Amanda's who works at Friendly's.
Mercedes was a really nice girl. She was a waitress here also, and she was friends with Amanda, and we used to talk to her all the time also.
Now it was police who wanted to talk to Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes tells detectives that Amanda had texted her earlier that day asking for a ride to work. She said it was a little after 5 p.m. when she arrived at Amanda's building. This is right around the time police believed Amanda was murdered. Mercedes said she called and texted Amanda to let her know that she'd arrived, but after waiting 5 or 6 minutes, she said she left.
We talked to Mercedes-Benz, and she says, well, the reason I had to leave was I had to go to Walmart.
Does that add up for you?
It doesn't add up, because her purpose of coming here all the way from East Hampton was to give a ride to Amanda to work, to Friendly's, which is basically 5 to 10 minutes down the road. So it doesn't make sense. If you pull up here to get her, why would you just leave without even going upstairs?
But what seems like a promising lead fizzles out. That neighbor who saw Mercedes speed away confirms she never got out of her car. And police obtained surveillance footage from Walmart that backs up her timeline. That's her in the white sedan pulling into Walmart. And more footage shows her shopping inside the store.
Mercedes was basically cleared once we were able to get the tape from Walmart.
Frustrated, investigators pushed forward, now casting a very wide net.
I mean, they were taking DNA from everybody and anybody.
We made a point for the medical examiner to make fingernail clippings of her fingernails. On this particular case, it was entered in a database, and there was no convictions for a felony that would have matched it.
With no matches to the DNA collected at the crime scene and no viable suspects, the case stalls. What surprised you most about this time?
I think how tight-lipped they were, whether it was Ronnie Gibbons or Chicopee detectives. Nobody was talking, even to me. Nobody was talking. They were very tight-lipped about certain things.
How did that make you feel?
It was very frustrating at first because I wanted answers. And I would call every Sunday night. I would call down to Chicopee Police Department looking for the detectives. What's the update? What's the update? What's the update? Got nothing to tell you, Michelle. Got nothing to tell you, Michelle. But it's just, at what point is, I never gave up, but you just think, is this gonna be a cold case? Will I ever know?
That fear of never getting justice for Amanda was fuel for a fire that was now burning inside Michelle.
My mom made it very clear that she wasn't just gonna let the case go cold.
I didn't give up hope because Michelle never gave up hope. She never gave up. She didn't let anybody else either.
Tell me about how, after this time had passed, that you said, I gotta take matters into my own hands.
I was driving home from work and I saw a billboard, and underneath it was Lamar and Company. And I said, you know what? Mom ain't playing around no more. I called them and emailed them, and next thing I knew, Amanda's billboard went up.
And that's just the beginning, right? You did flyers.
Balloon releases. I even had cards made up, business cards with the text-a-tip number on it. We attached them to the balloons. When we did the balloon releases, one of the balloons ended up 3 hours away, Cape Cod.
Wow.
It's been 18 months and 5 days since Amanda was murdered, so today I'm hoping with the release of these balloons that somebody will come forward.
Somebody knows something that happened that day. It was a busy Friday afternoon. We're just looking for that one missing piece of the puzzle.
She was just in your face. She really was like you would be as a mother. We want to find out what happened to your child, and she was out there. She was gonna find out.
Michelle's a
Funk Brasília, saca, 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 Funk Brasília, saca, 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 Funk Brasília, saca, 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 Funk Brasília, saca, 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 Funk Brasília, Zilha, zilha, com Brasília, zilha, 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 com Brasília, com Brasília, com Brasília, zilha, zilha, com Brasília. Bistrunge la forma.
Heard his name.
Had you ever heard Amanda mention something,
Nope.
Dennis?
Never, not once.
Can you spot the clue on this whiteboard?
Where do you guys want me to start?
Nobody could wrap their head around the fact that Amanda was killed to begin with, let alone trying to think of who could do it.
We had a billboard on 391, a huge billboard with this beautiful picture that she took of herself that day she was murdered.
Somebody knew something, and nobody was talking.
I kept saying, there's no way that there's no DNA. There's just no way. There has to be something.
There was a whiteboard way in the back. On the whiteboard, there was wording in it. Dennis was, W-A-Z, here.
Who's done this?
I got goosebumps right now.
So I was on the way to the hospital. They had told me 12 hours before I had her that I was having a boy. And Amanda by Boston was on the radio. As her godmother and I drove to the hospital. And when she was born, the nurse looked at me and said, "It's not a boy." So I named her Amanda after the song by Boston.
I'm gonna take you by surprise and make you realize, Amanda,
She was just always bubbly and fun, and she had this big curly hair, and she just, she was a light.
But on that tragic Friday in August, Amanda's bright light was extinguished when she was found brutally murdered in her apartment.
She was laying on the kitchen floor right when I opened the door. Just in a pool of blood, stabbed to death.
I got the call to say that we have a homicide and respond to the scene. So I actually responded to the scene initially.
People in the neighborhood were worried. Is someone gonna come to my door and kill me?
You don't even think it's real at first, you know? You're numb to it. Then you're like, oh, okay, maybe something's like amiss. Like maybe this isn't true.
Nobody could wrap their head around the fact that Amanda was killed to begin with, let alone trying to think of who could do it.
At the crime scene, police discover a partial palm print on the broken window and a bloody shoe print in the kitchen near Amanda's body. But with lead after lead coming up empty, the investigation is losing momentum.
They interview hundreds of people who knew her, friends, relatives, coworkers, and there is nothing new under the sun. Unless somebody comes forward with new information, this case is going to grow cold.
I think there's this impression sometimes that a murder happens, police will solve it in months. Some cases, they take time, they linger. Was that frustrating for you?
It was very frustrating because, you know, as time goes on, and you have to realize that in 2011, when this occurred, time didn't stop. Investigations didn't stop. Crime didn't stop. So we were working other cases as well.
I was getting nervous that her case was going cold.
Somebody knows something that happened that day. We're just looking for that one missing piece of the puzzle.
Amanda's mother, Michelle, takes matters into her own hands, organizing benefits, balloon releases. She even got a massive billboard with Amanda's picture put up on the highway.
I wanted people driving down the highway and seeing my daughter's face. Somebody knew something, and nobody was talking.
But then, a little more than a year after the murder, the story takes a strange turn. Rumors are swirling in Chicopee about graphic crime scene photos seen at a high school football game.
New details on the Chicopee police officers accused of taking pictures of murder victim Amanda Plass's body.
It was June 10th of 2013. I will never forget. There was a news conference. It was the then mayor who was appointing a new chief of police and said that they were investigating a crime scene photo leak by 2 of the Chicopee police officers.
My heart just sank. What do you mean police officers were taking pictures of the crime scene and sharing them?
2 Chicopee police officers who had been assigned to protect the crime scene took photos of Amanda's body with their personal phones, and adding insult to injury, they forwarded the pictures to other officers, and it was shown to coaches at a high school football game.
Everyone, the whole newsroom was, how could anyone do this? How could an officer do this?
Michelle sued the police department and the city, claiming emotional abuse suffered at the hands of the Chicopee PD.
They sued them for $10 million. I sued the city, the police department. I sued them all. It wasn't about the money. It was about proving a point.
An internal affairs investigation called the behavior an affront to the professionalism otherwise demonstrated by Chicopee and the state investigators in this case. The officers responsible were disciplined by the police department.
They were there to protect the scene, and at my daughter's most vulnerable moments, you disrespect her in the worst way ever and think that's okay. I just, I was mad.
At the same time Michelle's dealing with the photo controversy, she's campaigning tirelessly to keep Amanda's murder case front and center. What was it like for you to have to handle questions about that controversy, while at the same time, what you're really focused on is finding your daughter's killer?
Yeah, and I think that's what's the hard part of it all. I didn't want the controversy to overshadow the fact that we still did not have justice for Amanda. We were still looking and begging for that end to be closed.
Investigators working on Amanda's case had no involvement in the alleged scandal. Frustrated by the lack of progress, they go back to square one, reviewing everything from scratch.
We would try to keep saying, what did we miss? What did we miss? What did we miss?
And then a breakthrough. While reviewing photos of the crime scene, investigators spot a potentially critical clue that had been overlooked, hiding in plain sight in Amanda's bedroom.
We come upon, in a scene where the table was at, there was a whiteboard way in the back. On the whiteboard, there was wording in it, Dennis was, W-A-Z, here, 8/11/11.
The grisly murder took place in the kitchen, but the whiteboard was in Amanda's bedroom, which appeared undisturbed, and they missed the clue.
I get a call from Ronnie Gibbons, and it was like 9:45 at night.
Michelle, you got that whiteboard from the apartment?
I said, yeah, it's in the closet. He said, I'll be over in 5 minutes, I gotta grab it.
After more than 2 years, investigators finally had a name. But the answer to the question, who is Dennis, only brings more mystery. This Dennis was here on this whiteboard. This is a huge clue for your case.
This is a big clue.
Why?
Because Dennis' name had never come up in the investigation.
Now we're scrolling through Amanda's Facebook going, who's Dennis?
She didn't know. Amy Lay didn't know.
Her friends were calling me going, Dennis. Nobody knew who Dennis was.
Amanda's friend Desiree said, through force of sheer will, you kept her name out there. How difficult was that?
It was difficult. It takes a toll. And there are some nights where you just, again, you don't want to be that mom. But then something else would pop up and you'd be like, okay, let me call Trooper Gibbons. It was tough. It was very tough.
I have Michelle that was calling me at 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, mad and angry. You gotta do something. You gotta do something.
There was never a time where Ronnie did not show up at my house without a smile on his face. The only side that I saw was the compassionate side, the side that said, I'm here to the end.
It was a Wednesday night in October, more than 2 years after the murder, when Detective Gibbons was the one making a late-night phone call to Michelle.
It was October 30th, 2013, 9:45 at night. I get a call from Ronnie Gibbons. Hey, you still got that whiteboard from Amanda's apartment? I said, yeah, it's in the closet. He said, I'll be over in 5 minutes, I gotta grab it.
The discovery of a name hiding in plain sight on a whiteboard in Amanda's apartment kickstarts an investigation that, frankly, had been on life support. Now the question everyone is asking, who's Dennis?
No one knew Dennis.
Had you ever heard Amanda mention someone named Dennis?
Never, not once.
I never heard his name.
The detectives told me right when they found it, asking me if I knew the name. I'm like, no idea.
It is such a long shot, but they zone in on that and they decide they need to find out who Dennis is.
One of the things that was missing was her cell phone. We went back to her cell phone records. We came out that there was phone calls for a number. They came back to a Dennis Rosa Roman. I immediately recognized the name because about a year before, I had actually arrested Dennis Rosa Roman.
Gibbons had arrested Rosa Roman on a misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct. Rosa Roman pled guilty and paid a fine. But now Gibbons knew exactly who Dennis Rosa Roman was. The question, was this the same Dennis whose name was on that whiteboard?
You have anything further you want to tell us?
A possible answer could lie in one of the police interviews with Amanda's ex-boyfriend, Jesse.
While Jesse was still dating Amanda, Amanda had told him that she thinks her apartment had been broken into while she was at work.
She thought it was some kid that she had met and bought weed off of.
Jesse described him as being shorter. Jesse's probably like 5'10", 6 feet.
He's got to live like somewhere within like 2-second walk. I remember I used to see him walking around like that area all the time.
Jesse said Amanda told him she had hung out with the person once before, but he had no idea where. Now Detective Gibbons is wondering if the man Jesse had been describing in that interview could have been Dennis Rosa Roman. Amanda lives about a half a block away from this park. She used to hang out here, right?
Yeah, this is like a hangout for the neighborhood. And we learned later on, this is kind of like where Dennis would hang out during the daytime because it just didn't work.
So they might have come across each other in this park just in passing in the neighborhood.
Exactly, exactly.
In the time since Amanda's murder, Dennis Rosa Roman had moved from Chicopee to nearby Westfield, Massachusetts. Gibbons decides to pay him a visit. So now we're headed to Westfield, Massachusetts. Why is that significant?
That's very significant because once we found Dennis was here on the whiteboard and his number is on the phone, we want to locate Dennis.
What's your expectation going there? What are you trying to achieve?
The plan was to knock on his door and talk to him, just like we had talked to over 50 other people in the case, as well as to get his shoe size, as well as to get his DNA. I go to the apartment, ring the doorbell, no answer, and next thing you know, I see from a side alleyway that's between the building, Dennis come out.
And what happens next?
Beautiful timing. But here he is, he comes right around the corner.
Just walking right to you.
Walking right to us. So I stop him and then say, hey, Dennis, you got a moment? We want to talk to you about Chicopee. We want to talk about a girl named Amanda Plass.
Yeah.
His first thing is, he kind of chuckles. He says, oh, no, I don't go to Chicopee. It's too dangerous there. And I say, well, how about this girl Amanda Plass? And he says, I don't know Amanda at all. So I know that from the phone records, yes, he does know Amanda Plass.
In fact, Gibbons knew from those phone records that there were 9 calls between Dennis and Amanda. Dennis had called Amanda 5 times just a month before the murder.
I said, hey, can we go to the police station? He said, no, I got something I got to do. I noticed him light up a cigarette, and he's smoking on a cigarette. And now I'm thinking, wow, maybe I can get DNA off this cigarette that he's smoking.
Although Gibbons had arrested Rosa Roman a year prior, because he had never been convicted of a felony, his DNA was never entered into the national database. Gibbons says Rosa Roman didn't want to talk to him that day and began to walk away, but not before he tossed the cigarette he was smoking on the sidewalk.
Meanwhile, I told my partners, go to my car, get a paper bag, give me some rubber gloves. Dennis sees that because he keeps looking back. My partners come back with rubber gloves. He sees me put them on. He sees that paper bag. He sees me reach down and put that inside that bag.
Two days later, Dennis Rosa Roman is sitting in an interview room at the Westfield Police Department.
So your first name is Dennis, right?
Yes, D-N-N-I-S.
Engaging in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse with investigators.
I don't feel right doing this at all, but I have to do it. You don't even understand. I'm trying to save my life here.
Outside his home, Dennis Rosa Roman appears to be acting cool and calm with detectives, until he sees them pick up his cigarette butt off the street. Clearly he's concerned, because not long after they leave, he calls Lieutenant Ronald Gibbons.
After seeing me take that cigarette butt, he's now blowing my phone up. Hey, you and I got to talk.
You say you really need to talk to the...
Yeah, like seriously. Where do you guys want me to start?
Where they want him to start when they meet with the cameras rolling is very simple. Does he know Amanda Plass?
You knew her? I met her. I didn't know her that long, but I knew her of her.
You know her first name?
Amanda.
How much before did you meet her that she passed?
Say like a week or two.
Okay.
2 weeks the most.
So you know her about a week or two before she got killed?
Yeah.
He didn't know Amanda at all. And then he comes around to say that, okay, I did know Amanda, but I would sell her weed.
I met her by Family's Dollar in Tedeschi and Chicopee. Okay. You know where that's at? So I seen her, you know, she asked me if I could get some bud.
How many times previously did you get weed for her?
It's only been like 3 times, the most.
You ever been to her apartment?
Like up the stairs, and that's about it. I've never stepped in her house. I've never seen the inside of her house.
As Dennis is talking, he notices detectives checking out his sneakers.
Like my shoes?
Yeah, Nikes.
Air Maxes.
What he wears into the station that particular day is this black Air Max shoe. And we took the aha moment to say, you know what, can you take off your shoe and I'm gonna take a picture of your shoe.
Oh, my feet stink, I'm sorry.
Because the crime scene itself had imprint in blood.
The print that you found on the scene, what size was that?
That was a size 7.5 Nike shoe.
And what size is the shoe that we're looking at?
This is a size 7.5 Nike shoe.
Remember, detectives have had no luck matching those bloody shoe prints to previous suspects. So according to Gibbons, this is potentially damning if confirmed, but still not as conclusive as a DNA match to what was found under Amanda's fingernails. So Gibbons says they get Rosa Roman to agree to a DNA mouth swab.
Just, you know, open your mouth, just gonna rub that inside your lip. And so do the other side.
Gibbons says he wants Rosa Roman directly tested in case that cigarette butt sample might somehow be contaminated.
Doing great. Under your tongue.
There's a really big difference between you thinking, hey, I think we got our guy, and you lining it up with the evidence.
This is a matter of facts.
So the day that this all happened, what happened that day?
So Rosa Roman starts telling detectives his version of what happened the day Amanda was killed.
I brought her some weed.
Did she call you like that day? Or?
Yeah, she called me that day. She said, yo, can you move me a dime bag? She was not the one that came to the door. Like, the guy opened the door, he just said, yo, give me that, and that's it. And I went about my way.
What Dennis says is that this other guy was at the apartment.
I didn't bother saying anything to the guy. The guy looked suspect, like he looked suspicious.
He answers detectives' questions about what he says the man looked like.
I'm 6 feet, so what do you think? 5'10", maybe? He's taller than you. Taller than me, obviously.
Yeah. He has like dirty blondish hair.
Would you say white?
Yeah, he's white. Say he weighs like about 170, 190 the most, almost 200 pounds.
And goes on to describe what he claims he heard while outside the apartment.
I'm listening to this guy's like, I want my money. I didn't give you this for no reason. Why would you do this to me?
That was the guy's voice?
Yeah.
You're asking him questions about the description of the man who made these comments from inside the apartment. Why are you asking him about that?
Because I want to lock him into a story. Will you be consistent with that story, or you go on another tangent?
So the guy said something to her like, I want my money. I didn't do this. I want my money.
I didn't do this for nothing.
For nothing?
Right.
Did you hear her voice?
No, I didn't. I didn't hear nothing.
Rosa Roman is consistent, even though Gibbons says he is convinced Rosa Roman is making up his story.
That's all about everything I know, and I can't say no more, no less. You know what I'm saying? Julie, I'm sorry, guys. I'm actually helping you guys. You know what
You're very helpful.
Yeah,
because you know what? Not too many people have told us that they saw the guy there, you know? So that you're aces with me, you know?
I didn't have enough to arrest him at this point. I had to allow him to leave.
Thank you very much.
One interview ends, but Rosa Roman isn't done answering questions. 2 days later,
this picture is inside her apartment. You ever seen this room?
It's a photo of that whiteboard. What will Rosa Roman have to say when he's shown his name is on it?
And see right here, it says Dennis was here. Dennis, thank you very much for coming in.
I'm good.
And you've been very cooperative with us, and we appreciate that.
Dennis Rosa Roman agrees to another interview.
I wish I knew more to help you guys.
Repeating the story detectives say they don't believe, that he never entered Amanda Plass's apartment the day of her murder after he claims some man answered her door.
I'm gonna give her some lead. He's like, well, she's busy right now. And I give it to him, he shuts the door dumb hard in my face, and that's it. It's like, okay, this guy's mad, and I'm about to leave, like, and I left. You know what I'm saying?
But Rosa Roman says that was long enough for the man to recognize him.
I feel like this guy's just gonna run into me one day and just like try to say something to me or hurt me or something, and that's when I'm gonna peel my ass to the police station. Like,
yeah, is that because he saw you that day?
Like, this guy knows what I look like.
But what Rosa Roman doesn't know is that Gibbons is expecting critical evidence to the case to come back at any moment. The results from his DNA swab.
You were asking about this picture, right?
Yeah. I want to see.
So before that happens, Gibbons confronts Rosa Roman for the first time about that all-important whiteboard where it says, Dennis was here.
This picture is inside her apartment. You ever seen this room?
First time I'm seeing it.
We said, first time I'm seeing it. And then, well, how about this? This whiteboard that's in the back room.
And see right here, it says Dennis was here.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. I wrote my name on that.
You wrote your name on that?
Yeah.
I remember that.
I wrote my name on that.
So he's admitting to you that that's his name on the whiteboard.
You've told me all this time you've never been in an apartment, and now I got you in there.
So you signed Dennis was here.
Right.
You didn't put the date.
No, I didn't. Okay. I don't even know why that's there. I don't.
Yeah. But you remember this dry erase board?
Yeah, I do remember.
Where was the dry erase board?
That was in the back of, the door right when you come in.
Yeah.
It was right there, and
As he is confronted with the evidence, he shapeshifts. He manages to keep changing his story to try to ameliorate the facts in front of him. There are certain kind of people who can make up things on the fly and change their narrative based on the clues that are being given to them.
You say you never been inside her place.
Well, I have been in her house, but like, I just don't want people to like look at me like if I'm a murderer.
So now this is the first time that he actually puts himself in the apartment.
But you went in the apartment. How many other times have you been inside the apartment?
Twice. 2 times, that's it.
And what were they for?
To bring her weed and smoke the bone and sign this.
So the room that you were in were that back room,
the kitchen, and the back room. That's about it.
The back room was where the whiteboard was.
So what are you putting together at this point?
I'm putting together at this point that he, in fact, had not only been in that back room, he'd also been in the kitchen at some point where the crime occurred.
Remember, Amanda had told friends she suspected someone had broken into her apartment, and Dennis says she had asked him about that.
You said that Amanda approached you about somebody breaking into her place?
Yeah. She asked me, like, yo, somebody came into my house. Do you guys know? And I was like, well, I really don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Now Gibbons suspects that someone was Rosa Roman. Then, a few minutes later, a huge development. The detectives get called to leave the interrogation room.
How much longer is this going to take? 5 minutes. All right.
Outside, they get the news the DNA results are in. Rosa Roman is a match for what was found under Amanda's fingernails. They soon drop that bombshell on him directly.
The DNA that was found under her fingernails connects you to her. And you know what? It doesn't just get there.
Dennis is now thinking in his mind, how do I get out of this?
And what he tells them next totally flips the story on its head. He now claims he tried to save Amanda.
I know the murderer, and I tried to save her life.
What's he trying to do here?
He's trying to create a situation of why we have his DNA, why his DNA is possibly on her.
He's casting himself almost as the hero in this.
Yes, he is.
Well, why don't you tell us everything that happened in the apartment?
I know the murderer. That's all I know. I can't give you no more. I'm sorry. That's
You
it.
said he tried.
I want a lawyer.
But
I want a lawyer.
Okay.
Gibbons says asking for a lawyer stops the interrogation room recording immediately. So you don't see the scuffle that he says breaks out when detectives handcuff Rosa Roman and place him under arrest.
You don't have to be aggressive with me, dude. You didn't have to be that aggressive.
And then they have him booked. He's charged with first-degree murder. This is over 2 years after Amanda was killed. They tell you, we are making an arrest.
Yep.
What did you think?
Finally. Finally. You know, you always wonder why. Why?
Dennis, though, is admitting nothing.
What are you guys trying to do? Pin me for this murder, too? My DNA may be on her body, my DNA may be at the house, but you guys really don't know what went down.
But after he's transported from the Westfield Police Department to Chicopee, he's about to explain.
He demanded to speak to myself and Watson again. So he didn't come to the door. You actually went inside.
I went inside. I barged in.
Was the door open?
The door was unlocked.
As Rosa Roman tells them the newest version of his story, he now claims when he hears the commotion inside Amanda's apartment, he rushes in and fights the man he says was trying to kill her.
What do you see when you get to the kitchen?
I see the guy on top of her.
When you say he was on top of her, where was she at?
She was on the floor.
What are you doing?
I'm tussling with the guy and trying to get the knife out of his hand, and he's just like thrusting it forward towards me, and I'm like trying to back up, and I try to like grab Amanda, and she scratched me. Yeah, she got some skin off of me, but that's because I was trying to save her.
That's right. Rosa Roman now claims he tried to save Amanda's life. This is the key to his new story. His explanation for why his DNA is under Amanda's fingernails, even though he says he didn't kill her.
And after that, me and him were tussling, and the guy punches me in the jaw, and I run out the door.
And that's what his story was, that this guy is now following him around town. He's now being threatened by this guy because this guy doesn't want the truth to come out. What did he tell you?
Yo, you snitch on me, I'm gonna kill you. Just like that. Like, I know I killed her, and that's it. It's done.
But now, Rosa Roman has to tell that story in court.
The trial of the man accused of killing 20-year-old Amanda Plass is getting underway today in Springfield.
And he says he can identify who Amanda's killer is.
Amanda Plass's parents sat hand in hand with Justice for Amanda bracelets on as they waited for the murder trial of their 20-year-old daughter to begin.
I think I broke down more so in the courtroom, just looking at him.
It's kind of hard to describe how it felt to see him for the first time. It's like a fever dream. Like, is this really happening? But my mind was not on him. My mind is on my sister.
When I was selected for the jury, it was surreal. It was definitely a bit of a, oh my God, what am I in for? The home that Amanda lived in was 2 houses from where my mother grew up and my grandmother lived. It just became very personal.
The evidence in this case will show that on Friday, August 26, 2011, Amanda Plass was brutally murdered in her home. Miss Plass was getting ready to go to work when the defendant came into her apartment while she was getting ready and stabbed her 6 times.
Prosecutors lay out their case against Dennis Rosa Roman. There are the bloody footprints in his shoe size, his palm print on the broken window, and his DNA under Amanda's fingernails. They argue that Dennis, and only Dennis, committed this crime.
1 set of bloody footprints. 1 major male DNA profile underneath both her right hand and left hand fingernails. 1 killer, 1 defendant.
They literally took us from A to B to C to D. They laid out every single piece of evidence. They correlated every piece of evidence to him.
In addition to the physical evidence, prosecutors also used Dennis's own words against him.
And see right here, it says Dennis was here. Oh yeah, I do remember that. I wrote my name on that.
Each time he's confronted with evidence, he changes his story to fit the evidence.
I think it was important for them to see the 3 interviews because it showed Dennis as agreeing to some of the facts, denying some of the facts, and then coming around and changing his stories repeatedly.
But while the prosecution says the evidence proves Dennis's guilt, the defense argues that it isn't what it seems.
He was in her apartment when Amanda Plass was killed. He did not do it, but he knows the guy who did it.
The last story he told was that he was there with another man and he saw the other man kill Amanda, but he will never give the name because he was afraid the killer would kill his family.
And he tells you how many times he's afraid for himself, he's afraid for his family. Charge me, I'm not giving up his name. My name pops up, meaning if they capture him and my name pops up, he's gonna kill me.
Dennis's version of events kept changing over those 3 police interviews. In his final one, Dennis had a new detail for detectives, that the alleged killer was none other than his own drug dealer.
Your dealer went to her house?
Yeah.
Your dealer?
My dealer.
The 2 of you walk in the house together?
Yeah.
He had said he was there because he had given Amanda pot and she had not paid. So he said that the drug dealer killed Amanda and he saw it.
I'm like, yo, why are you doing this? I'm gonna get you your money. And I try to grab her and she like grabs my arm and he's just keep going and going and going and going.
What do you mean he's going and going? He's stabbing her?
Keep continuously stabbing her and she just collapsed on the floor after I separated her.
Think she was dead?
I know she was dead. I was just thinking to myself, like, how do I get myself out of this?
The defense strategy was basically that the police should look further.
They continually brought up other people to say, well, it could have been them, or it was them, or it was this, or just to try to have a sense of doubt.
After 8 days of testimony, the fate of Dennis Rosa Roman now rests with the jury.
When we retired to the jury room to deliberate, we took a photo of Amanda. It was a close-up of her face with her smile, and we hung that in the jury room just so we could remember why we were there and what this was all about.
It was hard. You don't ever want to think of your best friend going through something that awful. And that was her final moments.
Yeah.
And then bringing that into the trial, it was just...
It's terrible.
It's terrible. To this day, it's just... there's no words.
After only 5 hours of deliberation, the jury reaches a verdict.
We were sitting in the DA's office in the break room, and next thing you know, you hear running down the hall that the jury came back.
Breaking news this hour, a guilty verdict today in the Amanda Plass murder trial.
The jury today found Dennis Rosa Roman guilty of first-degree murder.
We had a couple jurors who weren't quite sure. One of them wanted to review a bunch of evidence again, and his commentary the whole time was, look at him, he's lying, he keeps changing his answers. And we very quickly came to a unanimous decision that Dennis was guilty.
When that moment you felt?
Relief, definite relief. Now I can put an end to this chapter.
Despite a guilty verdict, there's still the unanswered question hanging over this case. And that's, why did Dennis Rosa Roman kill Amanda Plass in the first place? Dennis Rosa Roman has been found guilty of the murder of Amanda Plass. But the one mystery that still remains is motive.
I don't know why. There's only one person who knows why. And he never spoke, so that's definitely the hardest of it. There wasn't a bad bone in that child's body. She never did anything wrong to anybody.
Lieutenant Gibbons has developed his own theory as to why he believes Dennis Rosa Roman murdered Amanda. He says he learned during the investigation that there was a bag of marijuana inside Amanda's apartment left behind by someone else. Gibbons says investigators were never able to find that bag and suspects Dennis broke in looking to steal it.
Dennis is a low-level dealer in the neighborhood. My theory is that he wanted to steal that weed that was in the apartment, and Amanda was a victim of circumstances that she happened to be there when he arrived.
Before Rosa Roman is sentenced, Amanda's mother, surrounded by family, tearfully addresses the court.
On August 26, 2011, my world was forever changed. My pain does not end here, but my healing begins.
I think at that point, it was finally my time to tell him, you took something precious from this world, and I hope you never see the light of day again.
There is no amount of time that will ever bring Amanda back. I would like to ask the court to hand out the highest sentence possible of life without parole.
It's the justice Michelle Pena has spent more than 5 years fighting for.
Court is hereby sentence you to the Massachusetts Correctional Institution in Cedar Junction for the term of your natural life without the possibility of parole.
As you look at him and you see that he's getting life without parole, what emotions are going through you at that time?
It was a relief knowing that we were finally at another closing point.
Did you feel like justice had been served?
No, justice will never be served because she's dead and he's not.
As for those officers who snapped those photos of Amanda's body at her most vulnerable moment, the mayor of Chicopee released a written apology. Michelle also reached a resolution in the lawsuit she filed.
Plass's family sued the city of Chicopee and the police department. The lawsuit was settled for $110,000.
Michelle continued her fight and helped pass Amanda's Law.
The bill bans first responders from taking and sharing unauthorized pictures of crime victims.
For an officer to want, in that moment, to take a picture of a scene like that, it makes my stomach turn. My mom wanted to make it known that you're never doing that again.
Today, Michelle keeps Amanda's memory alive by sharing her story with college students.
This is about the path that I have taken, the path that has helped me to my healing process. I want people to know that the grief never goes away, but dealing with it or trying to deal with it or put a Band-Aid on it enough to get you through every day is what you have to do.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Oh, these are great. That's her and Brandon. Brandon is my son. See just how the happiness on his face and her big smile. I have always said that Amanda passing kind of saved my life because I knew that I wanted to make her proud. She really helped me become the woman who I am today.
She was just a very kind person and wanted to help the world be better, and that's just something I hope everyone can try to do, you know.
Do you feel like she's
Oh,
with
yeah.
you now?
Oh, absolutely. All the time.
If you could have one more minute with her, one more second to say something to her, what would you say?
What she always said and what she always did. Keep your face to the sun and never look back at your shadows. Just like her precious sunflowers.
Dennis Rosa Roman appealed his conviction, but it was denied. And David, even though he was sentenced to life without parole, there's still a chance he could walk free one day as early as 2028.
A Massachusetts court has ruled that it's unconstitutional to sentence offenders under the age of 21 to life without parole. Rosa Roman was 20 at the time of Amanda's murder. Her family tells 2020 they plan to fight this new ruling. That's our program for tonight. I'm David Muir.
And I'm Deborah Roberts. From all of us here at ABC News and 2020, good night.